You hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning, fellow board members and commissioner. Greetings from Florida. I am Erin Benham, the Vice Chair of the State Department of Education, and I am opening the meeting of March 5th, 2025. To make a smoother process of the meeting today, I'm handing over the chair responsibilities to Mr. Harris. So thank you, Mr. Harris, and you can continue with our agenda.
Thank you. Again, good morning. My name is Don Harris. I am a member of the State Board of Education. I'm Homeville. My name is Don Harris.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I move to public participation, I'm going to ask the board, I would like to move item 11A on the Hartford Public Schools fiscal operations report and move it to directly after item 5, the report of the chair. And without any objection, okay. Now, time for public participation. Just a reminder, when I call, you can sit right there at that table and you have 3 minutes to speak and the time will be recorded here. I'm going to call 2 at a time, beginning with Anita Ford Saunders, followed by Dr. Steve Perry.
Good morning. Good morning, my board, Madam Chair, Mr. Harris. And my name is Anita Ford Saunders, and I'm the regular meeting and co-chair of the Capital Prep Planning Committee. Thank you for providing the opportunity to speak comments. I particularly like to speak on a section of the Connecticut Penal Statute 10-668A. If in any fiscal year more than one new state or local charter school is approved and is awaiting funding, the State Board of Education shall determine which school is funded first based on consideration of several enumerated factors. We don't know what they are, but they do vary too. The quality of the proposed program is measured against criteria required in the charter school application process pursuant to section 10-6688. 2, whether the applicant has demonstrated record of academic success by students. 3, whether the school is located in a school district with a demonstrated need for student improvement by Middletown Alliance System. And 4, whether the applicant has plans concerning the preparedness of the facility, staffing, and outreach to students. We met all those criteria. Monday, I tuned in to some of the education community, and when Representative Dawkins brought up this bill, your attorney, in a much lengthier explanation, used the term in a sentence that really hit a nerve with me. It is not our interpretation. And what would happen if I looked at the new law regarding distracted driving? What if I interpreted it as distracted by a phone, but not by programming my GPS? Or putting my earbuds in and not eating my lunch? Would my interpretation negate the law? No. Distracted is distracted. It's still dangerous and it's still the law. In this journey we've taken, there's one constant. No one will tell us why Capital Prep Middletown did not get the funding it needed to open a school that was needed. It's easier to open a dispensary in Connecticut than a school that educates children. So I do not understand. I and the rest of our planning committee would appreciate transparency and answers. What we would appreciate more is funding for our school. Thank you.
All good. Thank you so much for having us today. Thank you to the co-chairs and acting chair, commissioner, and each of you for your public service. I'm Dr. Steve Perry, head of schools and founder of Capital Preparatory Schools in New York and Connecticut. Typically, people think I'm a pastor because I'm dressed this way. So if that were the case, I guess I would be preaching from 10-66. Some people bring bodyguards, I bring the church with me. And in that, I would say that the General Assembly may appropriate funds to the Department of Education for the purposes of providing grants to local state charter schools pursuant 10-66. And I might say, tap your neighbor and say, neighbor. Not that many people in the church this weekend, that's all. I'm a Christian under construction as well. Don't take it personally. The Department of Education is to whom the money is given, not to a single charter school, the Department of Education. The General Assembly gives the money to the Department of Education for the purposes of funding a charter school. That's what it says. That's not an interpretation. This is not a Rorschach test. This is not an ink block test. It says it right there. We don't have to go that far. And then it says pursuant to section 10-66 EE. We just go straight down there, right? Why fool around with it, right? We would just continue it down in the book. We would say, it says in subsection K, if in any fiscal year more than one new charter school is approved pursuant to 10-66 BB. That's the first one I read. The one that says that it goes to the Board of Education. It says, if there's money that has been sent forward by the General Assembly, who gives money to who? The Board of Education. To determine what? Who is funded. It says, and I quote, that the State Board of Education shall determine which school is funded based upon consideration of the following factors. It does not say that a couple senators get to go in the back room and make a decision as to which school gets decided upon. This is not a kleptocracy. This is not some banana republic. The law is very clear. And as was the case the last time we came before here, where we removed from the agenda for reasons that we simply don't know after we were the #1 school. #1. What form of skullduggery are we engaged in at this point? The law is the law is the law. You needn't be in favor or against charter schools, but you, as you've sworn, each one of you board members have said that you will, in fact, uphold the law. Uphold the law. It doesn't say, well, what if the governor writes a letter that says it's not what it says? It doesn't say that. It says that what if there are state legislators who don't want that charter school in their district? It doesn't say that. It says that the General Assembly may appropriate funds to the State Board of Education, who will then use the conditions under which they are to determine which schools to be selected. We're here, the #1 school, #1. We've met every single expectation that has been put before us. All we're asking you to do is what you're supposed to do, which is to put us on the agenda, vote so we can leave this here and go back to doing what we do, which is to run schools.
Dr. Michelle Baker, followed by Michelle Clay.
No.
Good morning. Oh, so Michelle Baker don't want to speak. I get to take her time too?
Oh.
Oh, okay, I'm a comedian by trade. So 2 things. I have a letter from a parent and then I just have something I would like to read. So I'm gonna start with the letter from Vanessa Cockrell, and I do have copies for everybody as well. I don't know who to give these to. I'm always taken back by these type of meetings, you know, as a parent we work, so I had to take some time to be here. This letter serves to express a strong support for establishment of Capital Prep in Middletown as parents who prioritize the educational experience of children. The opportunity for Capital Prep to become part of our community is incredibly exciting. Currently, our children attend a prep school where they thrive in an environment that encourages them to bring their whole selves to school. The school embraces diversity and celebrates cultural differences, creating a community where children feel they truly belong. The exposure to a variety of backgrounds has enriched their educational journey, teaching them valuable lessons about respect, empathy, and collaboration. However, the daily transportation of our children out of Middletown highlights a significant gap in the local education options. While the current school provides a nurturing setting, not all families can easily access such opportunities. Our children commute from Middletown, Connecticut to Bloomfield, Connecticut, Monday through Friday. This requires them to wake up as early as 5:30 a.m. and return home by 5 p.m. in the evenings. While other kids are engaged in their extracurricular activities, my children are just arriving home. Establishing Capital Prep in Middletown would allow children to experience similar benefits without the need for long commutes. This local option would ensure that all students can participate in a diverse and supportive environment. The potential for Capital Prep to offer a high-quality education that embraces culture and community cannot be overstated. It represents an important step towards providing equitable educational opportunities for our children in Middletown. In closing, support for Capital Prep is a step towards enriching our community's educational landscape. Families deserve access to schools that foster belonging and creativity. The establishment of Capital Prep will undoubtedly make a positive impact on the lives of many children in Middletown. Thank you for considering the important initiative. Sincerely, Vanessa Cockrell. So I'm going to go ahead and read mine right quick. I didn't introduce myself, but greetings. My name is Michelle Kay, and I serve as the co-chair of Capital Prep in Middletown, Connecticut. I come before you as a parent of a former student who attended the Middletown School District. In light of the ongoing issues surrounding educational equity, I made the decision to enter a Hartford lottery system for a magnet or a charter school. My son was fortunate enough to be accepted into a magnet school in Hartford, where he truly flourished. Upon returning to Middletown School District, he excelled in football, but we had to leverage the skills and knowledge he gained at the magnet schools to navigate his high school experience, as the district still fell short in meeting his needs. As an involved parent, I consistently advocated for my son through phone calls, texts, and emails. I am proud to share that he is now a junior student athlete at Livingstone College, at a historical Black college in Salisbury, North Carolina. This experience has fueled my passion for the movement to establish Capital Prep in Middletown. Parents deserve better educational options. And given that Middletown is designated as an alliance district, the need for Capital Prep in our community is more critical than ever. It is essential to acknowledge that a charter school is not only functions as a district school, but it is a district school. I look forward to collaborating with you all to make this vision happen. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful morning.
Is there Michelle Baker out there?
I accidentally signed in. I apologize.
This Malik Turner, followed by Lisa.
This is one of my first meetings, and definitely taking back basically. I'm glad to be here. So I'm really from Middletown, Connecticut, not born, but born in North Carolina, raised in Connecticut. And throughout my journey, I had background in higher education student. The reason why I point that out there is because I've been blessed enough to get my master's degree in higher education and student affairs. And I've been home over the past year or so. God has blessed me in the space where I'm able just to sit down and see what I can do to get back to my community. Connecting with the folks behind me representing Capital Prep, I realized that education is definitely more of a catalyst that's needed within our community. Based on different resources, based on representation. I sat down, I was like, you know what? I went to Middletown High. All this for me is Middletown High School. We had vinyl every day. Didn't want to go to vinyl, didn't want to go to Xavier. I would have been blessed enough in order to have more of a Capital Prep foundation. I think I would have been different one of these when it comes to connections, when it comes to education, when it comes to being in the atmosphere and environment of individuals that look like me, that have the same passion for me, that has the same drive in order for me to excel as an individual, as a Black man within society, extra educational tools and the money. So the reason why I'm just here just to express more of that concern. You already heard things from different stores, different parents, different access and things that have been disrupted, agreements that's been canceled, and also just the pipeline that needs to continue. So just want to put more out there in the space for an individual that wants to have that active change within the community, that wants to learn more about what to get more involved, have these things to be established within our own community members. I believe it would have been great to have a capital project if I would have been growing up around that time, to have something like that within my community. Something different, a different environment, a different field. So hopefully what I can provide based on my own point of view will be somewhat gathered for the decision that will be gathered for the decision. So in short, just thank you all for allowing me to be in this space, to have this conversation, and I have blessed day.
Lisa Marana is not here.
Next up will be Millie.
You did really good.
Apologize.
That was really good, Mr. Harris.
Morning, State Board. It's good to be here today with all of you.
Is that mic on green?
It's on me.
Okay.
Hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
All right. Great. Okay, so my name is Millie Arciniagas. I am the executive director of the Hartford Parent University. We engage and empower parents in their children's learning, and we work with them to navigate the school system, and we also be part of the education. So with that said, I really do think that parents are left out when it comes to what they want to see in their schools. And that's everywhere. That's not just Hartford, right? Like, you know, parents not give advantage to say, some parents have advantage to say, hey, I want my kid in a private school. Hey, I want my kid to be homeschooled. You know, it works out better. It works out better for my family. And I think, you know, as we look at the 30 years, okay, we look at 30 years, and I've been involved for 27 years in this work, and I have seen us at status quo. I know there's a lot of hard work in the background, and I get it. Hard work all over, from everyone. But at this point, I think that we need to do better when it comes to educational options for parents. I don't see special education getting any better. Right? So, you know, at some point, parents are going to have a whole year, they're going to have a whole year of compensatory time because there's no special education coming. Well, that's not a Hartford issue, right? That's like a national issue. We're not seeing in Hartford like the money that we thought we were going to see, like to be equitable, and that word is like we used around here, but in Hartford we don't. So, you know, I encourage you to, you know, if there's anything wrong with Hartford, to go find it. Find the $30 million that you haven't used. Okay. This is year after year, right? So teachers leave because of antiquated systems like passing a praxis exam. You know, we have substitute teachers stuck in the system, teachers of color, may I add. That they're just stuck. There's got to be another pathway for them. If they can't pass the test, give them tests that they can take. We got to start thinking outside the box so that we can have more teachers in the classroom. And then not, and having other ways where teachers can become certified, right? And be able to make the pay that we do. But if we continue this way, it's not going to work. I mean, I've already had 30 years of this. So like, I know that the kids of color are way behind, right? So like, you know, if there's a charter school thing that's going on, that's looking great, do it. You know, hey, they're number one school, yay. But, you know, we can't continue to do the same things over and over again and expect different results. And Mr. Harris, Chairman Harris, today's Chairman Harris. I see you, Chairwoman. But I sat here with you a couple of board meetings ago, and you were shocked to see the students of color sports. And we're not shocked. We're not shocked anymore as parents. This is just the status quo over and over again. We gotta do things differently. Parents are for educational options. If we have a parent that's able to do homeschooling at home, they should get paid for that. Money should follow the child. I didn't think I was ever gonna say that, but money should follow the child. And we as parents deserve to choose what type of educational option is best for our children. Thank you very much.
Mark, the Maruga.
Well stated.
Okay.
For the record, I'm Mark Maruga. I'm an attorney. I represent Capital Prep Schools, preparatory schools. I'm going to say this. You probably heard from a few speakers so far on the subject. Someone trying to follow Dr. Perry and his passion would be kind of like someone trying to follow Lincoln at Gettysburg or follow MLK at the speech on the mall. So I'm trying to keep this as brief as possible, understanding I'm a lawyer. And I think I've already sent a letter to the board that was on January 20th. I think all the board members may have received it. This is kind of an abridged version of that. I think we've set forth what the charter school approval, funding, and opening process is. First part, obviously, after applicants for charter schools are submitted, the State Board of Education may grant certificates of approval for charter schools. Second, afterwards, the General Assembly may appropriate funds to the Department of Education for the purpose of providing grants to charter schools. And if such funds are appropriated, an initial certificate of approval for a charter shall be effective in the charter. And three, this is the magic 1066 EE subpart K. If in any fiscal year more than one new or local charter school is approved and is awaiting funding, the State Board of Education shall determine which school is funded first based on the consideration of several factors. Now, going back in the time machine on March 1st of 2023, two charter schools, Capital Preparatory Middletown Charter School and Edmonds Caulfield Preparatory Academy for Young Men, were approved by the State Board of Education and received initial certificates of approval. In addition, in June of 2023, the General Assembly, through its biennial budget, exercises discretion to appropriate funds for charter schools, including new schools for the Department of Education, and that is a single line item in the budget charter school. And only one school, Edmund Caulfield, received funding from the State Department of Education for the 23-24 fiscal year and beyond. And by the way, I don't mean to say anything that's derogatory or attacking of Edmonds Caulfield. I hope my comments don't come off that way. However, Capital Prep didn't receive any, Middletown didn't receive funding. We believe that to fund Capital Prep Middletown Charter School is in violation of state law. We hope the State Board of Education can remedy the situation. We believe that the failure to file, basically that the State Department of Education breached, or the State Board of Education breached its mandatory obligations under the law, including 1066 EK with respect to the funding of Capital Prep Middletown Charter School and light of its rankings of the applications. We have received a document, a March 7, 2023 document by the Department of Education to the General Assembly's Appropriations Committee, which listed the charter school applicants, further listed charter school, Capital Prep Middletown Charter as the first school on the list, and Edmonds Caulfield is second, along with the other schools that did not receive any funding. This is understandable because Capital Prep Middletown was the high scoring school under rubric. We did an FOI request, and the State Department of Education has not produced any other documents showing the rankings of the schools or any other documents showing the process for determining which school would be funded first, as required by 1066 EEA. So our assumption is that document is the ranking, and that we are, number one. That's based by your own documents. If that's not the case, then you breached your statutory, duty to rank this. Now, we understand there's been some discussion, and we've seen communications from the department, from your very able legal counsel, and from the governor's counsel's office, referring to the legislative history, that the General Assembly made a conscious effort not to fund capital prep. We put that on the power of the General Assembly. The General Assembly has a power to aggregate, send monies, aggregate funding, and other schools. But there's not a single, there's one line item for charter schools. The General Assembly has provided such money.
Please wrap it up.
Okay, I said brief comments and I went over a line. We believe what's stated in there is accurate reflection of what the law is. We'd like to avoid any further legal action. We hope that the charter, that it can be funded. Thank you.
Okay. Moving forward, that concludes our public participation. We have no executive session planned. Looking to get a motion, please, for consideration of our minutes on January 15th. There's a second. Any?
One guy with a beard. No, Alan, please.
Any edits or concerns? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes of our January 22nd meeting at 2025. Please. Please move to second. Taylor seconded. Any edits? Questions? Concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Venom?
Aye.
Abstentions? Yes, so. Report of our chair, and that's, I'm going to go to our interim chair, Aaron Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I'd like to start with an introduction. At our last meeting, the commissioner and I both introduced ourselves to Dr. Diamond, who joined our board, but failed to introduce her publicly. So publicly welcome Dr. Diamond, who represents CSCU for us on the board, and we're very happy to have her with us. So thank you. This past Monday, both Ms. Record and Dr. Zimmerman joined me on the NASB member exchange. The NASB member exchange, as you recall, it has changed a bit on how they are conducting their business. And so this one took place with a breakout session from the Northeast. So we were able to discuss issues with New York, New Jersey, Maine, and Delaware on our call. And we will be following up with similar ones during the member exchange for NASB. I also would like to just alert the board. I am going to be sending you, forwarding you an email for the School Discipline Collaborative. Many of you might not be aware of this collaborative that takes place. This is a collaborative that advises our board and the commissioner on discipline issues throughout the state. I have served on it for many years. I used to serve on it with Estela Lopez, and I'm looking for anyone who might be interested. So I will send you that email so that you could take a look at that information so that you can see that coming to you. And then I want to end with congratulations to our student members who were officially sworn in, not sworn in, they already were sworn in, but officially went through the House and the Senate for their nomination hearing. I don't know if how the board members got a chance to watch it, but it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And to Shri and Sophia, I give you a lot of credit. You took a lot of tough questioning. I've seen a lot of nomination hearings, and I haven't seen that line of questioning from the panel as I had seen and given to the two of you being student members, but you handled them better than I could ever imagine. So congratulations on getting through those hearings. You've been with us since August, so it's no surprise to this board how much we treasure your time with us. And that would conclude my report.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for our chair? Okay. Thank you, Aaron. And again, we're now moving to item 11A, the Hartford Public Schools fiscal operations report. Dr. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Good morning, Board. Good morning, Commissioner. I am pleased to introduce to you today our colleagues here from Public Works. Since June of last year, under the empowerment of this board to allow the Commissioner or to direct the Commissioner to take the necessary and appropriate actions regarding the fiscal status of public schools. We began our work with Public Works LLC as the caveat, who then met with you in September to provide an update in the plan for their exploration of the fiscal status and procedures, processes, existence in Hartford Public School. In February, Public Works concluded that exploration and is here today to report on. You see in your executive summary of their findings and the recommendations association with Hartford Public Schools. So I'm going to turn it over to our colleagues here. We have the CEO, Eric Schnurr. We have the lead consultant, Dr. Joanne Cox, and we have the consultant extraordinaire, Ms. Betty Russell. So, Eric.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be back here. News commented in September, kickoff of this project, and absolutely many of you back then. And we're back here today to more or less wrap it up. I believe you have the executive summary of our report. You're used to this meeting, so you've got some idea of what you're doing. And Dr. Russell and Dr. Cox will walk you through the details of the report, our findings, and recommendations here this morning. By quick background, as you recall, we're not a public department, but we said Public Works LLC, and the name comes from the fact that we work all over the country with helping public sector entities work better, work more efficiently, and services that we don't need. So we've conducted reviews like the one we did here at the Hartford, entire state governments, cities, counties, and school districts around the country. There's a state department of education in another state where we're just wrapping up a similar sort of thing. And I just pulled up here yesterday from Florida, where we launched a similar project. I'm hoping the vice chair doesn't get a sunburn as I got one. But it's a pleasure to be here today. And we have a standing contract with the state of Connecticut management and organizational review services like this. So we were contacted over the summer by the State Department of Education and asked to help out on the project. Back in June, started on the project in July. I was able to meet with you in September as we were launching this. And today, what we're going to do is walk you through some of the keynote work. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Stiles.
Thank you, Eric. First, I'd like to say good morning and thank you for the opportunity to present to the board. We are in a lot of state boards of education in this line of work, and I'd just like to compliment this board on three things quickly. One, your security is very tight. That's why we check in 30 to 45 minutes early. Two, giving time for your educational stakeholders to give you input on issues they're facing. And three, and probably most importantly, is the lines of the walls are all student work when you go up to the State Department of Education level, as well as I talk them out in the hall, which keeps reminding all of us why we're sitting at this table. It's student focused. Dr. Hughes pretty much gave you an overview of the history of the facts leading up to this fiscal services review. Superintendent Torres Rodriguez, along with the CFPE staff, provided a report to your accountability and support committee on the impact of their 24-25 budget reduction. And based on that presentation, your subcommittee determined that HPS was a system in need of improvement, and therefore the state board then authorized the commissioner to take action, and Public Works was hired to conduct this physical services analysis. The main focus and scope of this work was twofold, looking at grant management review and fiscal systems review. The bottom line is that we came in to help Hartford Public Schools develop processes and procedures for their system to ensure the full utilization of their state and federal funds. I'm going to repeat that, to ensure the full utilization of their state and federal funds. We also did a fiscal systems review, looking at financial management, purchasing, grant management, asset risk management, as well as IT systems. What we did with this report is we triangulated our findings and our recommendations. We didn't make our recommendations based on one factor. We looked at hard data, both from the district and from the state. We conducted interviews and focus groups of CFDE staff as well as Hartford Public School staff. We conducted focus group interviews, a survey, which we got a very high return rate, as well as looking at national peer district comparisons to formulate our recommendation. So you'll get the opportunity. I know you have the executive summary, but you will have the opportunity, if not already, to read the full report. It's very lengthy, but we think it's very comprehensive. It has included 12 commendations. We think it's important to commend Hartford on some of their best practices, so that you'll find 12 commendations and a total of 46 recommendations in the full report. If the district should choose to save or implement all 46 recommendations, our team estimated they could save nearly $2 million in savings. This was a point in time study. However, fortunately, Hartford Public Schools leadership acknowledged the need for improvement on their part, and over the past 6 months, they've taken action. They've made some positive changes, and my colleague will go over those later in the presentation. So let's just talk about the survey results momentarily. There's a wealth of information in the report, but we have a pretty high response rate, 40% of select HPS staff that took the survey. That's a pretty good response rate for a survey, and we had over 300 open-ended comments where staff were allowed to tell us some of their concerns. Just briefly going over some of the results, the majority, 52% of the respondents have worked at Hartford for 16 plus years, and 22% have been at HPS for 5 years or less. In areas of procurement, 42% feel that the procurement process is complicated and unreasonable, and we certainly agree with that. You'll see in a moment. A significant number noted that the finance and risk management department appears overwhelmed with a high workload and is understaffed, contributing to delays in responding to processing requests. In the area of grants management, 41% of the respondents find the process was complex, burdensome, and time consuming, and we concur. Current themes in the open-ended comments were that there is extended long turnaround times to complete grant applications, and a definite need for more training to assist the Hartford Public School staff in effectively managing their grants. Project scope, just to review, it was a comprehensive analysis of grant management, fiscal processes, and operational structure. The objective was to help Hartford Public Schools maximize funding, modernize their policies and procedures, and strengthen their controls. As I mentioned earlier, we always like to commend the school system on what's working well. And this is just a snapshot of some of the key commendations that we found. The school district collaborates with the city on procurement and accounts payable training. Hartford Public Schools effectively tracks student device inventory. I can't tell you how many districts we've been in where that is not the case. Very commendable. HPS also ensures proper insurance of assets and employee safety. And we also commended the school system for maximizing their Medicaid claims to generate additional revenue. I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague to go into some of the recommendations.
Good morning, everyone. I am Betty Russell. And in doing this review, we did come up with 46 recommendations. However, we are categorizing those into categories of really critical findings and then our recommendations. And I'm going to focus on those today. The first one is in the area of organization and staffing. There are layers of redundant management, which are still, and according to the principals, they are not getting all of the support that they need from upper levels of management. And then there is a lack of program ownership and management of grants, where there was not a stipulated person within the organization that was assigned to work on specific grants from a programmatic standpoint. The next area is the lack of cohesive grant planning and budgeting. The process was occurring prior to the planning for grants and was a product of what was budgeted, as opposed to the other way around, where grants would take the forefront. This is what we want to accomplish, and this is how we will do it with our budgets, which led to a number of complications, which we will discuss. Next is in the area of fiscal management. Our concern was that the Unisystem capabilities were not being fully utilized, and that some of the controls and such that should be in place were not necessarily activated, and the management controls overall just needed to be strengthened. So the last of the four categories is outdated and non-existent policies and procedures. And this was throughout. The policies that did exist were aged, to say the least, and the procedures, the individual desk procedures, were either non-existent or were created in another era, to say the least. Key organizational issues, and I think the very first one, that the CFO position had been vacant for over a year, led to a lot of disconnects within the overall organization. That has been remedied, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. The layers of administration on the academic side of the house really were not getting down into the assistance that the principals said that they felt that they need from an operational standpoint. And the short-staffed positions, they had two major events happen where they lost employees that passed away on the job, and they had no procedures, and they had to start over again. So the vacancies were critical to the overall management of the operation. And a lack of program ownership for grants. The fact that the administration, the instructional side of the house, had not taken ownership of the grant. They were not involved in the budgeting and planning process. led to a huge disconnect between the money spent and the intent of the money being provided. Grant planning and budget challenges, and this may appear somewhat redundant, but the budgets were being adopted first, and then the grant planning was occurring. So that grant allocation was after the fact. And that led to strange and wondrous things. The allocation was based on positions. And so there was a spreadsheet that was being used to allocate the funds to each grant. The objectives of the grant, the expectations of what was going to be accomplished with the grants were negated by some of that back end planning process. So, just having those processes flipped was something that we felt needed to happen. And Board of Education oversight. There was a lot of controversy among the board members. There were vacancies. There were all sorts of things, but there wasn't adequate oversight of the grant management process. In the fiscal management area, I mentioned some of the issues with Munis. Lots of manual processes that Munis actually had the capability of handling, and controls that would be in place if they were using all the capabilities of the Munis system. It's a very powerful system, and it can do things. The position control issue, they had adopted a multiple to one. So there was one position control or maybe 10 positions. And in the grant planning process, that caused all sorts of problems. If I lost somebody, did I lose them on the grant side or did I lose them on the operational side? Where did I lose that position? I am really excited to hear now that they are 99% finished with moving to a one-to-one position control. And that's going to really help in the budgeting and planning process. The grant drawdowns, that was a huge issue. It wasn't being done. Part of the reason for the drawdowns not occurring on a regular basis was a lack of procedure. The other was the death of one of their primary people that was doing it, and an absence of any kind of procedure that someone could step in and take over. So there was an issue there. And purchasing requests are a way to bypass purchase order. And there were a large number of purchase requests being used that bypassed the controls that were in Munis to prevent overspending. Outdated policies and procedures. I can't even begin. There was a special revenue document that was created many, many years ago that really outlined how grant planning and management was supposed to be done, but it had not been updated or used in a number of years. Some of the vacancies that they've had occurring in critical areas, the absence of policy and procedure, they lost all that institutional knowledge. And this is a critical area that they realize now is in need of repair. The key recommendations in each of these areas, I think, are illuminated here. Reorganizing finance, getting that CFO position, which they have now, and they have a very qualified person in that position that we have met with. They are assigning program owners, and I believe the last time I checked that they had about 90% of the grants assigned to a program owner, and they are in the process now of training those people what is expected of a program owner. implementing sound fiscal management practices. They have accomplished the one-on-one position control almost completely. There are areas where the new CFO has come in and is bringing the staff together. This is really a critical recommendation, and it is being actively worked on. And updating policies and such, that is going to be an ongoing process from now until the end of time. No policy or procedure should ever be frozen. It should be evolving as practices change. In the area of organization and management, we've already mentioned they have already hired a CFO, and that person has hit the ground running. Streamlining administration is something that's going to have to take some time. And the issue within the instructional area and getting the principals the kind of operational help that they need to be successful, so that they know how to contract and how to organize and how to handle discipline and how to do all of, they need that kind of support. And the layers are not providing it at that level that they need. In terms of the grant specific programs, you know, all the grant, they did not have any grant oversight positions other than those that were involved in the budgeting process. Now they have a grant manager. Now they have begun to organize that entire financial process, which I think is going to result in significant improvements. And documenting the chain of command. As you can imagine, when you don't have a CFO, over a year and a half, there was a lot of jockeying for position and who was in charge and who was going to make decisions. That documenting that chain of command, I think, is a critical piece in this whole process. Under grants planning and budgeting, the grants planning has to occur prior to budgeting the money. And that is something that we have been providing some initial technical assistance during this budgeting process for 2026 in order to help them to get that planning process in place. But I have to say, there's going to be phases. They are not going to be able to do all of this in 1 year, but they have made a good running start. Having measurable goals. What do you want to accomplish with your grants? And then having some key performance measures that actually say we are achieving those goals. And that is something that is in progress as well. Grant applications were being copied and pasted in a lot of cases. And so the application itself, they need to be more collaborative with the Board of Education, and they need to be working through and presenting these grant applications to the Board of Education. And then training and guidance. New program managers, new people in the program areas that have not been involved in the planning or budgeting process intimately need critical training in order to be successful in their jobs. And as I said, there's a lot of phases that will have to happen, but that initial training has to be done. Fiscal management, position control is taking care of the purchase order system, eliminating the purchase request and forcing more things through units is very important. Three-way matching of invoices and carrying out some general fiscal management control activities and implementing something with these grant drawdowns that is more systematic and planned, and they are able to use the drawdowns to see that they are actually accomplishing what they intended to accomplish at the beginning of the year. Policies and procedures, I don't think I need to dwell on this anymore. We need them. They aren't there. And that is going to be a big issue in the coming months as we continue to provide technical assistance.
So we believe the next steps in this process for immediate action is that the districts post the full report on their website for transparency purposes. Assign a point person from Hartford Public School for each of the recommended operational areas, and to establish some sort of a tracking system. A lot of districts have an electronic tracking system where they can then provide oversight and updates to the State Department of Education as well as their own board. And we hope that they aim for 100%, but at minimum of 80% of implementing the recommendations that we have provided for them. We will continue to provide technical assistance. Our team will be heading over there. You'll have to excuse us after our presentation and we answer your questions. We're heading over to Hartford to continue our work with them on the technical assistance plan. So I think that concludes our presentation, and we're out of time.
So thank you, Public Works team. At this point in time, if the board has questions relative to the presentation or the executive summary or detailed report.
Taylor.
As a former debate coach, we stand ready for cross-examination.
I think we're about big cross-examination. I'm rather overwhelmed. I think I'm the only Hartford resident on this board. Former member of the Board of Education, previous millennium or something. But I find this fairly depressing. Have you had any contact? And Hartford changed its form of government from a council manager to a strong mayor. So you haven't had any communication with anybody on the city side of things?
We have interviewed several city staff members. They were part of this whole process.
So they have seen this report now too?
I believe they've received the executive summary, but they haven't received the full report, by knowledge.
This is the mayor. The written charter appoints the majority. If you send them a copy.
Mr. Taylor, we've done that.
You have.
Yes. We will
You're
do
there.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for a very big report. I still don't get a sense of the organizational structure of CFO lands. And who is below the CFO would actually be ultimately responsible for the Office of Grant Sponsored Programs, whatever that. Can you just comment on that? Is that structure properly in place? And it just seems like there were a lot of failure modes that somebody wasn't there and the whole thing sort of unraveled. So you set it up in a way that tell me how it is and how can you prevent that something leaks? How do you avoid them?
The CFO was reporting to the deputy was reporting to the superintendent. And our recommendation is that ultimately the CFO should report directly to the superintendent. But what happened in the absence of that CFO in the middle, the deputy was doing triple duty. And so while he was providing some oversight of the fiscal management, there were seasoned professionals that were directing each of the component areas, and they were siloed, and they put a barrier, more or less, between themselves, so that, for example, when the woman that was doing the drawdowns passed away, it just didn't get done. And then there was, after you brought this to their attention, they immediately assigned someone to the drawdowns and in a massive effort got the work done. And then there still were the silos. I am really happy to report that with the new CFO, and we had 5 virtual sessions with them going over the budgeting and planning and so forth processes. I am really seeing the barriers being broken down, that the groups are working together. They have an assigned grants manager now that is separate and apart from the budget group that oversees the money side. And they have assigned these program owners. So now where the budget unit was doing all of it, the grants, the general revenue, et cetera, where it was all in this little pile, is now being distributed according in a much more effective way, so that planning can occur and that expectations regarding the use of the grant funds can be met in a more useful manner. The other departments, HR was not working with the finance people to do this. They were attempting to do a one-to-one position control, and they were not getting full cooperation from all of the departments to make those changes. That stopped. They said it was going to take 2 years to get to one-to-one position control. They did it in a period of 2 to 3 months. So things are much better today, and those silos have been addressed and are being broken down, and the new CFO is a dynamo. I am really, really excited about the work that he is doing and the vision that she has for the future. Which I.
So it's recommendation that the CFO from this portfolio would work on it.
That is our recommendation.
And best practices back that up. If you do research, the majority of the high performing school systems have that in place where that reporting system is in place. They report directly to the superintendent, and with a new superintendent, we understand coming in, we think that would be an ideal situation that would change.
I guess, Commissioner, lessons learned for other school districts. That's not in place in others, whether that model could follow, or maybe it already is in us.
I will say that I'm happy to report that that system is in place in my school district. So I'm quite familiar, for example, with our CFO reporting monthly to our finance committee and the full board about new grant applications, new grants that are being sought, the conference of for the awarding of grants back to our district. Are you saying that because of the absence of someone in the CFO position that the Board of Education therefore lost their conduit to the information because that person was not reporting to the board? Or are you saying that there was no regular board practice to seek that information from the district leaders?
I can't tell you what existed in the past. I can tell you what existed when we got there. And the entire board had been removed and a new board was there. There were like 1 or 2 that were still in place from an election. It was, they were rebuilding. And the board chair has a finance background, which I loved. And the issue was, you know, what are we going to do from here forward? I can't do anything about the past. But when we looked at the policies about what should be brought to them, when should it be brought, and so forth, just weren't clear enough that she could take this forward. So they're rebuilding. The board is rebuilding, and that's great. I think it's all working together, and I know that this CFO and that board are working to really do additional planning and understanding of the budget deficits and so forth. So they're getting there.
That's good to hear. My second question is, I think more related just to the oversight and maybe org chart, if you will, around the grants management. In the table of your recommendations, I'm looking at page 15. One of the recommendations is to create the small office with administrative support. So I see that there's a listing there for a federal state grants coordinator. You mentioned in your remarks that they've hired a grant manager, and I also see in 2-7 to create a grant writer position. I'm just curious why there's no money attached to creating a new position. Is that someone in an existing position to take over those job responsibilities, or is that folded somewhere else?
There are people that have the skills and abilities, and there are positions that, and this is part of the reorganization of the overall process that we were talking about. We feel like there's a better way to use some of these folks. And so in the fiscal impact statement, what we say is, utilize either a vacancy, because they have many vacancies, utilize a vacancy to fill that position, or move somebody into that position to create. They have hired a grant manager from the outside, and they have reallocated funds accordingly to make that happen. And so again, it is a work in progress. And I think that the CFO has a grander vision, but as she has stated several times, we have to get through phase 1, which is the 2026 budgeting, cycle. Then we can reassess and say, what did we do right and how can we improve on that? Which is exactly what needs to happen. And, so I have confidence that things will get there.
So is it the envisioning that the state grants coordinator will be a direct report of the grants manager? Is that sort of org chart?
No, they are going to be a direct report to the CFO.
Okay.
Because we want there to be a separation of the programmatic use of grant funds from that budget process and planning process, which was all in this one place. It is a work in progress.
Thank you. Appreciate your
Comments?
Thank you again for the hearing. Thank you again for the really informative report. I feel like a lot of the elements of this challenging situation for Hartford really resonated. So I'm sure the rest of the board members appreciate that. The story I'm hearing in general is one where sort of the loss of key personnel sort of led ultimately to a decay in some of the important procedures in the district, which then was not correct. The district had trouble correcting, maybe for procedural, but also for personnel reasons. I guess, we often find ourselves in a position here in the board trying to take advice to school districts. I'm curious what your thoughts were on the factors that led to the lack of sort of self-correction in the district. Why did it take until very recently to, for example, appoint a new CFO? I know you may not have a definitive answer to that question, but I'm curious how we can think about the ways that districts can insulate themselves from this kind of challenge when, bad things inevitably happen. We don't end up in this. I think Dr. Salazar used the word failure state, which maybe is a little harsh, but I think captures some of it.
I think one of the answers to your question is that you need to have strong policies and procedures in place, period. And most districts do have a lot of high turnover in high positions. It's a high stress job, but without strong policies and procedures, the staffing changes will continue to occur, but people stepping into those positions will at least have a roadmap of where to go. And I think that was one of the breakdowns in Hartford.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I really just want to thank you for that and the team, and just to draw attention to this board when you gave me and the department the direction that we should take a closer look. This is one piece of the three-pronged approach that you're hearing on today. But I also just want to point out that we also thought about this, not just dropping a report and walking away. And so we were very thoughtful that, yes, we'll get recommendations, but the district would also need the support to make the changes necessary. And that's what Public Works is doing right now with the district. So it is our commitment to continue to support the district in making the changes and not just admire a report of X number of pages that usually happen in these situations. And a year from now, we're right back where we were. So that is our commitment to this board, that we're continuing to do this work. And I just want to thank you for that. And Dr. Salazar, you mentioned, yes, I'm sure that there'll be things here that we can learn as we're supporting other districts as well, that we can share some best practices on that to all of the districts. So I just want to thank you for that.
Commissioner, if I could follow up with one more comment, and that we are grateful that you have the foresight and your team to provide that technical assistance, because in some of our cases, the report does sit on the shelf and collect dust. In this case, it will not. And I also would like to thank the Hartford Public School leadership for being open to having technical assistance. In some cases, we've been in districts where Big Brother sends consultants in to help. It's like, that has not been the case with Hartford Public School staff leadership. Thank you.
And finally, from my standpoint, I'm not a resident of Hartford, although I came through the Hartford school system as a young child. But I kudos to Public Works. I think you've done a fabulous job, especially as a former board member and chair of CAVE. To involve CAVE and their policy procedures, because that's going to do wonders to get their policies out of the doldrums, updated and to the 2025. So I thank you very much.
I have one more question, please. In Hartford, Board of Education is already appointed by the mayor. Has the mayor's office been all of this?
And I'll answer that, and it's a yes. That we've had, I've had lots of conversations with the mayor, and they also have a copy of this report.
And 6, report to the president.
Commissioner, before you begin your report, I'd like to make a motion to add a certificate and resolution for Mr. Clemens and Mr. Taylor. If I could have, if someone could make that motion, please.
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe Mr. Harris is going to read before I get into the report. Yes.
It gives me a great deal of pleasure. Connecticut State Board of Education. Hartford proposed today, March 5th, 2025. Whereas Alan B. Taylor of Hartford was first appointed to serve on the Connecticut State Board of Education by Governor Lowell E. Weicker Jr. on April 7th, 1994. And whereas Mr. Taylor was reappointed to the State Board of Education by Governor John E. Bullen on February 28th, 1997, And whereas Mr. Taylor was reappointed to the State Board of Education by Governor M. Jody Rell on March 3rd, 2005, and to serve as chairman. And whereas Mr. Taylor was reappointed to the State Board of Education by Governor Daniel E. Loy on February 28, 2013. And whereas Mr. Taylor was recognized by the National Association of State Boards of Education, NASB, as a recipient of the Distinguished Service Award in 2014. And whereas Mr. Taylor was reappointed to the State Board of Education by Governor Ned Lamont on April 13, 2021. And whereas Mr. Taylor was a recipient of the 2024 CAVE Friend of Public Education Award on November 14, 2024. And whereas Mr. Taylor's commitment and vast knowledge of public education, his firm belief in the abilities of all students, and his advocacy on their behalf, coupled with his support for all those stakeholders who share responsibility for student success, therefore, be it resolved, the Connecticut State Board of Education honors Alan B. Taylor for his selfless dedication to the State Board of Education and extends to him its gratitude and appreciation for his commitment and 31 years of service to the students and families of the state of Connecticut, and wishes him well in his future endeavors. Approved unanimously this 5th day of March, 2025. Signed, Aaron E. Benham, Vice Chairperson, State Board of Education. Charlene M. Tucker, Commissioner, State Board of Education. We get Aaron on picture.
That's gonna be a little weird.
Stop the tape.
Look at you.
Yeah. Oh, I should have done that.
What again?
Had you guys gather in there.
I'd like to add,
Usually,
congratulations, Alan. I wish I could be there with you for your last meeting. I still fondly remember our very first meeting over 10 years ago, when I was first appointed to the board and met with you and then Commissioner Pryor. And you just were a guiding force for me for many years, and I thank you for that. I also like to thank you on your work on behalf of NASB, your service to NASB over the years, being a Northeast Area Director, President-elect, and President. So NASB also sends their congratulations to you. I wish you the very best, and I hope our paths cross again.
Thank you so much.
additionally, the Connecticut State Board of Education Certificate of Recognition in honor of Eric M. Clemens, who has served with distinction as a member of the Connecticut State Board of Education, and with appreciation for his significant and lasting contributions to the State Board of Education and selfless dedication to Connecticut's children, and approved unanimously the 6th day, November 2024, signed Aaron D. Benham, Vice Chairperson, Charlene M. Tucker, Secretary. Mr. Clements is not here today, but I think he deserves a round of applause.
Thank you all very much. And I'm going into the agency's report. And I know we have some guests here with us today, so I'm going to move things around a bit and start my report. with an update on the educator evaluation plans. And we're going to have our deputy commissioner to come to the table with the team and the guests that we invite to this board. I know Vice Chair Bennett specifically had asked for the board to get an update as to where we are in the status of educator evaluation plans, and they're here to provide that.
Just here with one of our education consultants, Sharon Snuffer, who is leading in these efforts. And we also will give you an overview of where we are in an update, as well as we have 2 school districts that are going to speak about their process. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. As Deputy Commissioner said, I'm Sharon Fuller. I work in the talent office at the State Department of Education. I want to thank Interim Chair Erin Benham for requesting us to provide an update on the implementation of the Connecticut Educator and Leader Evaluation and Support Guidelines. These guidelines are being implemented for the first time during this school year, 2012. Just to give a little context to where we are now, each district is required to have an evaluation and support plan that is aligned to the Connecticut Guidelines 2023. Districts had 3 options for their plan. They could either adopt the Connecticut State Model Plan adopted by the State Board of Education on February 14th, 2024. Districts could adapt the state model plan by modifying 1 or more components and still ensuring that it's aligned to the Connecticut guidelines. Or districts could develop their own district-created plan, again, aligned to the guidelines. On the right hand of the slide that you see, you'll see that in the pie chart. You'll see that 31% of our districts have adopted the state model plan, 44% have adapted the state model plan, and 25% of districts have developed a district-created plan. My colleague, Dr. Jessica Ocasio, and I reviewed each of the plans to ensure alignment to the guidelines. Jessica worked with districts in the CREC, ACES, and East Time regions. And I worked with the districts in the CES, Learn, and Ed Advanced regions, as well as the CSDE approved private special education program. The most common topics that we provided feedback to districts are listed on the left-hand side of the slide. And these include the development of high-leverage professional practice goals, providing high-quality feedback, and providing differentiated tiers of support prior to implementing a corrective support plan. All of these are mindset shifts from our previous evaluation and support requirements. So it was our pleasure to work with districts to support these new requirements. And furthermore, to support districts in successfully implementing their new plans, the CSDE, in collaboration with the RESC Alliance, is providing, Thank you. The CSDE, in collaboration with the RESC Alliance, is providing trainings and technical assistance funded by our ESSER funds and provided at no cost to districts. Districts submitted applications requesting technical assistance in 1 or more of these topics. The number of requests as of February 19, noted on the slide, continues to grow. When the RESC provide the technical assistance, they are typically in half-day sessions in person in the district. The topic of feedback is broken into 3 segments at beginning year, mid-year, and end of year. There are also trainings being scheduled as we speak at each RESC based on these topics throughout this year and into the fall, through the summer and into the fall of next year. I also want to commend the Educator Evaluation and Support Council for their continued input and commitment to supporting this work and supporting the new evaluation and support programs. And it's my pleasure now to welcome representatives from Madison Public Schools and Waterbury Public Schools, who will each share some successes of their new implementation and also some areas that they are continuing to grow. Okay.
We were happy to let Waterbury go first, but see him get up, so we'll go. Very quick, I'm the superintendent of Madison. Commissioner, thank you for having us. Mr. Harris, great to see you, and thank you to the Board of Ed for having us here today. With me is my assistant superintendent, Gail Dowling-Hench, who did the vast majority of the work on the teacher eval plan, so I guess she planned not to join us, but Gail will be joining up. Stay up just for a second. Becky Frost, one of our elementary principals from Hamden School, and Chandler Hartford, who is a fourth-year teacher, so a tenured teacher, been with us today, who obviously was with the last version of the plan and our current version. We appreciate, I'll start with the flexibilities offered by the plan. The plan was a very tight time frame for us to do all this work, but we appreciate the state's flexibility provided that allowed us to make some pretty major shifts to our current plan, but also keep some of the tenets that really worked well for us. And so we used the Danielson rubric. We're a self-developed plan, but very similar to the state's plan. We got some feedback over the summer. We're able to do that work over the summer with our teacher teams and administrators, and those changes to be able to be in full compliance for the start of the school year. Train our teachers start. They did go well for us. Good process, and so this year. Becky's gonna.
Yeah, thank you. As a longstanding member, 12 years of the Madison PDEC committee, I really appreciate the flexibilities that they have granted us this year in our plan. It has allowed us to keep one of the components of our program that I hold very near and dear to my heart. And that is that all new and beginning teachers in our district go through something called a unit of study with their students. So rather than a more traditional, singular, isolated, formal observation with feedback, I actually, with all beginning and new teachers, walk through a complete unit of study with them. So I'm able to learn how a new teacher takes one of our Madison district developed units, curriculum units, unpacks it, plans for it, executes it, implements it, assesses learning, and reflects at the end of the unit. And I'm able to give my teachers feedback on all those steps throughout the day. So I'm not sure there are a lot of principals out there that would say that, ooh, supervision and evaluation is one of my favorite parts of the job. But with the unit of study process, it's actually very enjoyable. The teachers that I walk through units of study with, Chandler and I have done many together, they're the teachers that I know the best because I know the ins and outs of every aspect of the job as it naturally unfolds. And in my 4 years teaching in Madison, I've done 2 unit study cycles with my evaluator. And it impacted me as a new teacher in the district in such a positive way. Having those multiple points of feedback and multiple observations really helped me to implement the changes that we discussed and different suggestions that were given to me immediately. And then again, receive that feedback again. So it was an ongoing cycle, and it really was ongoing professional learning. And I found that being able to walk through the unit with the planning and then obviously doing the lessons and then talking about it and having that feedback was really beneficial for me to ensure that I was implementing these lessons as they were intended to be and that they were aligned with my school vision and the district vision. So that was also a really nice benefit of it. And then just the amount of observations was great because it made it possible for my administrator to see all aspects of my teaching instead of just 1 or 2 lessons here or there. And it made the whole process more authentic. And lastly, it was nice to be able to collaborate not only with my administrator, but with the coaches I was working with and teammates as well throughout the whole. And the other thing that we really appreciate with the state's new plan and flexibilities is that you have very tightly aligned the teacher evaluation system with the administrator evaluation system. So we have taken something that works well for teachers and actually created more of a systems approach. And we now have something we call a case study for all our special education and related service teachers. And we now have something called a leadership study where all of our new colleagues in leadership roles, whether it's a coordinator, assistant principal, will go through something very similar, but in a leadership capacity versus a teacher. So just a couple of highlights and things that are working well for us. That's it.
I'll just close with, I think our next level of work is still looking at some of those unique positions like the instructional coaches or other teacher leaders and what really works for them in terms of rubrics or process, things like that. So that's our next level of work. We're doing that. Our committee meets pretty regularly, and that addresses any concerns, things like that. A goal setting process was really flawless this year. Your meetings have all good place. So thank you again for the flexibilities, and thank you for answer any questions or turn it over to. I'm very happy to whatever you'd like.
Go to water carry. And then don't leave Dr. Cook.
Sounds good. I might ask you to help out if I get stuck here, but I want to say good morning, board chair, board members, Commissioner Russell Tucker, deputy commissioners. Thank you for hearing from us today. I'm Dr. Jared Shortly in terms of working in one of the public schools. And I want to echo the sentiment of my colleague Madison has said, which is thank you to the State Board of Education, and thank you to the Educator and Evaluation Support Council. I don't know what it means to get here. Thank you very often, or thank you on mandate. This was very welcome. 12 plus years I've been in Waterbury Public Schools as a member of the PDEC committee, as a member of the state commission creating the rubric that has gone away. We have members from our PDEC committee that are here today. Seats up here, but we have Peter McCaslin, who is one of our principals at our turnaround middle schools, and principal Eric Alinza, who is a PDEC principal, who is part of our PDEC committee here. This was a great opportunity for us to get back together and rally around something that we all can get behind. And it was a really useful process, and we really appreciate the collection of growth and just the simplicity of the information that we received, the support we received, specifically from Dr. Tucker's office, the town office, and Jessica Castillo were phenomenal throughout that entire process, and the systems and the guidelines we received were really well done. Probably one of the best documents we've received when we're even reflective questions and things like that our PDEC committee could really and chew on as we collaborated together. So some of the successes that we had was getting together around that PDEC committee and agreeing on where to go with the new changes. That was a fruitful conversations that happened over the course of the year. It was a tight time frame, but sometimes that's a good thing because of course the hand and we work backwards to get it immediately to get it tonight. We in Waterbury really appreciate the focus on feedback and the tier support. That's something that was missing from our system and basically the ratings. It never really got to the tier support angle, and we did the ratings in our system. And so it's very clear delineation of how you get tiered support in our district is involved by administrators and teachers. But I've heard from all sides that the flexibilities and the choice that are inherent in the system have been welcomed. We have hundreds of teachers that now team up together and work on their evaluation as a group. So grade level teams or content level teams that are working together, which was not part of our plan prior to that. And then I did have a multi-year plan, right? The fact that, you're a veteran teacher, you're good at that, you have this big project you're working on, but the stakes of the years are linear and that it starts and ends, and then the restart again the next year was something that kind of held some teachers back from being more creative on how they're going to be evaluated. And so this multi-year plan is something that is very popular in our district as well. Some of the areas for growth that we continue to look for is just time to continue to professionally develop our administrators and teachers to assure that that not only are they getting professionally developed on effective ways to provide feedback, collections, but also we had a transition to a new system, so electronic system that takes some time for everyone to get used to.
transitioning away from that rating mentality is really hard. It's like you have to deprogram people away from it because you still want to walk away and say, well, how did I do? Give me a number. And that's really hard. I think it's just human nature to want to know that. We have great teachers across the state of Connecticut, and specifically in Waterbury. But it's focusing on that conversation, the dialogue, the reflection, and growth. It is hard to get away from. So we're still working on that, and I think that will go away over time. And as I mentioned earlier, one of our areas is this learning of the new evaluation platform, among all the other priorities that are going on. It's one more thing, but again, I'm back it's very much it's easy to get together as a team and work on something, and everybody can then feel encouraged by the built. Again, I want to thank the Board of Education and the support we received from Commissioner Russell Tucker and her department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Questions. So it sounds like things are going well. The exercise is wonderful and positive. And what if the teacher's not doing well? Does the model still allow you to move quickly into eventually if that doesn't work, does the model still allow you to move into further action? And it's a little bit subjective. It sounds like the positive things go well and it's nice. But if it's not going well, then how is that objective driven? And would that have some difficulties in terminating a teacher that's not doing well?
For us, I could speak for our part. It actually helped us clarify the tier support that teachers will move through, or administrators will move through, because it's also our leader. So it actually clarified our process. It is much clearer now of what the tier support the educator will receive along the way. And then there's a very concrete correctness of planning document that goes along with this plans. And you guys again, the corrective action. So for us, it actually strengthened that process because before it was based on ratings and basically to get the ratings that you had to get the corrective action, then you almost never got there. It was impossible to get the kind of support. So for us, it actually strengthened that process.
I would concur. I think it's very doable, for both the administrator and the teacher, and structuring that support, making sure it happens. I think previous plans were so prescribed in terms of how many evaluations, observations you had to get in, the timeframes, and as schedules changed, it was almost too difficult for an administrator, say, to have more than one teacher in that process, where there might be a necessity to have more than one teacher at a time in a school in that process. So I think it is much more flexible. Teacher or the administrator.
I was just commenting to Dr. Zalazar that what both of you your districts are reporting is very similar to what I experienced in my own school district. I also serve on my district's PDEC. And so what you're saying about the shift in the mentality of rating versus growth, we also struggle with that from administrators to teachers. And I would echo what you said about how welcoming it is to have the clarity around the supports to move through. I'm sure you've experienced situations where you're at a point where you want to, in the previous model, put together a support plan, and you're sitting with a tutor like, I had no idea that this was an issue. And so I completely agree with what you said about that. I'm really interested from my friends from Madison about your unit study approach, and I appreciate the fact that you're in a much smaller school district than myself. But I'm wondering if you have a suggestion as a best practice for scaling something like what you described into larger schools, where, for example, there's 120 teachers to be supervising, and maybe at any given time there's 15 or 20 teachers that are first or second year. Do you have any suggestions for how you might modify what seems to be like a really exciting practice in your district into a larger school system?
Off the top of my head, I supervise approximately 30 certified staff members. We have done it through the 12 years different ways. So originally, when we wrote the plan, even tenured teachers participated in unit study once every 3 years. That was a lot for administrators.
Yeah.
So we decided to focus our efforts on teachers that are beginning teachers and new to our district. So every teacher that is new to the district gets a unit of study. We do it early in the fall, again, because it really is about a growth plan, right? We want to support them. Unit of study allows me to go into a teacher's classrooms 3 to 4 times over the course of that unit. So we can make little adjustments and have conversation along the way before getting to a tier 2 or tier 3 approach. If there are concerns, we might follow up with a second of unit study sort of in the new year. So I think, again, tailoring it to and concentrating heavily on new and beginning teachers was helpful, and also scheduling them earlier in the school year so that if additional supports are needed, we still have time to do that.
And did I understand in the previous evaluation model, there was a very overt wall that was built between evaluation and team. How did you or did you not shift your unit study into this school year where now there's sort of more of an overlap between what a beginning teacher could use for team and what they're doing in your district?
Yeah, so we've tried to really align the unit of study with the team model as best we can, because we know those beginners are really, they have a lot on their plates. So there are places where the conversations, the modules that our beginning teachers go through as part of the team program overlap in language and conversation with evaluators.
So do you maybe encourage, like, I'm very used to a linear progression through the team models of, you know, the classroom environment first and then planning. Even yours is like, do your teachers have flexibility to say, if I'm going to do this unit study in, say, October and November, that I also at the same time want to do my planning module, or is that not taken into consideration?
No, there's definitely flexibility in that. And that's why each teacher has their evaluator for the unit of study process, but also then their team mentor to work through those modules with, so that they are aligned. But goal setting is also key there. We try to have our beginning teachers set a goal at the beginning of the year that is typically just something from those team modules again, so that there's tighter alignment.
That's great to hear. It's a really unique way, I think, of integrating beginning educators and people new to your school. So I commend you for that. Thank you.
Vice Chair Benham.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Commissioner, for having this most important item come onto the agenda. I also want to thank the Talent Office. I am a member of the EES Council and have been working with them closely over the last couple of years. And I thought with something that we approved a while back that it was good to hear what was going on presently, as it is something that is out in our districts. So I thank Waterbury and Madison for coming and sharing and coming before us today. It's really important that we do hear from districts about how this is going. We get updates through the council meetings, but it's always great to hear the actual people who are using this plan, which I feel is also a really great one as a former person that was evaluated and evaluated others. I think it's one of the best plans that we have seen in quite some time. So thank you again for coming forward today, and a great thanks to the entire Talent Office for all their work that they've done on this.
Any other comments?
So thank you so very much for being here this morning. As Chair Benham said, the board, you make policies and you do this work, and it's really good to see the end product and what it looks like on the ground. So thank you for that. So I'm moving right along. I'm moving up the agenda actually, and I'm also now going to ask Attorney McKeon to provide an update. You heard an update this morning from Hartford. And now I'm asking him to give an update on the Connecticut Technical Education and Career System 1040 complaint that you heard a couple months ago.
Morning. Thank you, Commissioner. As you recall, the board authorized the investigation into CTEX. Section 10-4B with respect to practices and policies pertaining
to special education students and students with disabilities in general, that encompasses students under 504. CTEX has provided me with substantial amount of documents, and these documents reveal what I think are somewhat serious concerns with respect to past policy practices. The CTEX had established safety review panels, they call them. And what it was the process by which they reviewed the applications of students that they selected and determined whether they were appropriate for CTEX or not. And the 2024-25 school year, system-wide, they declined admission to 158 students. The review panel did. Now, that in and of itself is a concern because, frankly, these students were being excluded based not upon conduct that occurred while they were at CTEX, but what occurred prior to them coming to CTEX. As an argument can be made, they were deprived of due process. CTEX is a public school system. They are subject to the same rules as any other school district, any other local educational agency in the state of Connecticut. So that was problematic. Of those 158, 42 students with disabilities. 34 were identified under the special education laws, 8 under 504. Now, the law provides, 1076Q provides that when a student, a special education student who is going to be enrolled at CTEX, before that enrollment, the local or regional school district would have a planning and placement team meeting. The purpose of that is to determine that whether or not, let me just read you one sentence. The purpose of such meeting shall be to address such students' transition to such technical education and career school and ensure that such students' individualized education program, all special education students are required to have under federal and state law, reflects the current support and services that such student requires in order to access a free and appropriate public education in the legal environment. So essentially what that means is that a student's going to be enrolling at CTEX, the local district convenes a PPT meeting. They invite a representative from CTEX and they determine, all right, what does the student need to prepare to succeed at CTEX? Well, CTEX advised me in response to a pretty extensive document request I had sent over to them that these students never had a PPT meeting. Safety review panel would review, and if they decided we're not taking the student, the PPT never met. The student never received an IP. I think arguably that is a clear violation of federal and state law. One of the requirements under special education law is that if the student engages in a disciplinary infraction, one that's going to result in a change of placement, and that's an expulsion or a series of suspensions that form a pattern of exclusion. There's what's called a manifestation determination PPT meeting. And the team determines, is this a manifestation of their disability? Under the special education laws, as well as Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, you cannot punish a student for their disability. So it's interesting. Some of the disciplinary bases for the exclusion of the kid that they engage in some problematic behavior, no question. Other students, however, one was possession of drug paraphernalia. One was out of school suspension for vaping. And these were among the students who were excluded without the opportunity for the PPT to meet and determine whether the student could be provided free appropriate public education at CTEX. Again, they just never had the chance. And under the law, the PPT is the exclusive authority for determining what constitutes an appropriate program for that student. Of the students who were excluded, approximately 27% of them were students with disabilities. Of those, 22%, and that includes 504 as well as special education students.
Just special education students is 22%. Now, this is typically students who are coming into ninth grade. During the 2023-24 school year, I don't have the figures yet, overall 24-25 school year, the statewide percentage of special ed students was 16.8% of eighth grade. Ninth graders in public school in Connecticut were 16.8% of special education students. GTEX excluded 22% special ed students. And again, when you include the 504 students, 27%. It's a significant amount, to say the least. Now, that's the bad news. New leadership that I have had the opportunity to have in discussions with at CTEX, they are taking very positive steps forward. They have abolished the state review panel, which very, very noteworthy and a great development. Furthermore, they have consulted with the State Department of Ed with respect to the lottery process. Asked us to give some insight, not so much me, but one of my colleagues, Ron Steer, who of course is at the head of the regional school choice office, is well versed in a lottery protocol. They instituted a randomized lottery school year going forward. In early February, they instituted the first round of this lottery. They had 6,000 applicants, they had 2,800 offers. There's only so many seats there across the system. So 87% of those accepted. And it was totally randomized. So they don't know if they're disabled, if they're non-disabled, what have you. So it truly was blind lottery. They are going to, there are some seats left, probably only a couple hundred, 300 possibly. And they are going to do a second run of the lottery. But the kids who didn't get in the first time around will be included in the second run of the lottery, as well as any new applicants. So obviously not all the kids are going to be accommodated, but yeah, there are limited seats. But nonetheless, the fact that they have moved forward with this process, they're doing this lottery, they're getting rid of the state review panel, are very, very positive developments. I appreciate the fact that the Alice Pritchard, the director of CTEX, and Freeman Burr, the interim superintendent at CTEX, have been extremely cooperative. Their legal director, Kelly McCoos, have also been very helpful in providing documents that I requested and information. So they're looking into it, still formulating a final report back to it. Again, the bad news is what was happening was extraordinarily problematic. But what's happening now is very positive step. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Any questions for? Okay, if you could stay there, Mike, because I'm going to go and update on Bridgeport. So making sure that you all also aware, because I don't have to go through details on background, you also asked us to intervene as well in the Bridgeport Public Schools. And we've been keeping with the information that was shared with you. The technical assistance team is in place, shared with you as a 4-member team. Really great background and experience to be in the district, and they are literally on ground right now doing work. We had an entrance conference with the acting superintendent and members of the team to meet. We were in this room to meet with our team here from the department, along with the technical assistance team, and the acting superintendent's brought members of his team as well. So we were very clear on the rules moving forward and this board's decision and determination about the work that we are doing. The Board of Education, as you know, is a part of required training. Cabe, I know Patrice, I think, is in the room, they've actually had one training already, so that work is going forward as we to ensure transparency. The local board is required to report as a status and progress of their training at each of their public board meetings. And there's community engagement that's occurring. Dr. Ingrid Kennedy, who is, I know, in the room, is a member of the technical assistance team and is hosting listening sessions and specifically hearing directly from students, hearing directly from our educators there, from the administrators, and also we'll be continuing work from the community to hear from the community as well. As you know, that I wrote an open letter to the Bridgeport school community so that they're aware of everything that is occurring. And we will do, as we've done with all of these, is to give the board monthly updates as to all that is happening. At some point, I'm sure we'll bring in the technical assistance team as well to be able to talk with you. So I don't know if there are questions there. I know the team, Dr. Hughes, and also actually the deputies, Mike, are all a part of this process with a lot of transparency and a lot of communication back and forth with the district about the work that is occurring. So just want you to know the status of where we are. There's a lot happening right now in the agency, but really important work that we're doing across the state. Questions?
Just as a resident of Bridgeport, I just want to commend you for the transparency this is being done. I very much appreciate that. Lots of people in my community very much appreciate that. I was very impressed with the composition of your assistance team. I'm familiar with working with some of those individuals, and I think they're going to do great things in the city. So thank you for the excellence and for the team that you put together.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you know the open letter was translated in 4 languages to make sure that folks could access that information as well. So we'll keep you posted.
Comments.
Thank you very much. So to wrap up my report, just a few more things. You have my supplemental packet. I won't certainly go through all of that. I've been busy here at the agency. We're also in the legislative session, so I'm also fine and things on that end. But I just want to acknowledge, the state and national discourse regarding federal funding. I know that's a lot of questions on a lot of minds. As of today, and I'm looking at our fiscal staff there, just to let you know that we've not had any funding interruptions for any of the federal programs. Minister, we've had full access to the resources from both the departments of education and also the Department of Agriculture, which is where child nutrition funding originates for us. And we've also in this time period received extended liquidation approval for districts and for the department as well for utilization of the remaining ESSER funds that we have. So I know things change rapidly, but I just want you to know as of today, we've not encountered any interruptions in accessing the funds that's available to us. We're watching it very carefully. We're monitoring closely. We're part of regular meetings with the Office of the Governor, with other state agencies, is reporting out and what agencies are experiencing and how we're moving along. So I just want you to know that we're paying very close attention to that. As you also know, that we've issued the K-12 public school guidance for immigration activities and protection of students. That's there. We also translated that in several languages. I'm looking at the team as well, so that can be accessed as well by families if necessary and organizations. So wanted you to know that is occurring. Also, as you're aware, special education is very much in the spotlight across the state. And I believe that's positive for the 94,000 students with disabilities in our state. We updated you on the rate setting study that is occurring, that the team is working on with the Research Collaborative. It's underway, but you should also know that the governor's legislative proposal on Senate Bill 1244 expressly is empowering the department to develop a methodology to determine and set tuition rates for providers of special education programs. So we will keep you informed. And that is occurring. So the study is happening, but it is also now in proposed legislation that we do it. So I want you to know that occurring as well. I had this past Friday at an excellent visit with some 11th and 12th graders, Middletown High School, roundtable with students. It just was awesome. And they were not shy in sharing with us what their features or concerns are. We had students who were part of a group that's Men of Excellence in the high school, Ed Rising, which we've talked about here, and another program, Gifts, that they've developed for young women. And they really talk about how these kinds of programs and clubs provide them a sense of community and helping them navigate their school experience, their academics, and their personal growth. They had a lot to say. I wanted to know if I had any teachers, potential teachers in the group. And we did know that. Our students had mixed feelings about becoming teachers. Some were drawn to the impact teachers have, while others were hesitant. They literally say, it's too much responsibility to take care of us. But it was really great to have that conversation with them. Great feedback, and also talk about their role, the students' role in supporting teachers. One student said, we need to recognize that teachers are human too. And they do help to build stronger connections. Coming from the students, they also talked about strengthening family and community engagement. This was something they thought that schools should do a better job of engaging parents and the community that is supporting them as they navigate not only school, but life in their community. Certainly they talked about Black history or cultural awareness, that this should be celebrating differences should be more than dedicated to a month, and that this should be something that is happening ongoing throughout their school experience. And they also talked about representation matters in terms of their educators. Having a diverse teaching force can bring new perspectives and foster stronger student connections. And the next time, they want to keep the conversations going, and the next time they want me to bring legislators with me, so they can talk to them. So just wanted to share that because it was a really great time just sitting and having a conversation with them. Our Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities, they've been very busy, engaging, bringing attention to the issue of dyslexia. They've had different events just this past week. And I know we have a new member of our team. I think she's in the room. Jade Gopi, new bureau chief in our talent office. I know she was on this call with, I think, maybe over 1,000 students that were able to participate in this event with Krista Weltner, who grew up with dyslexia. She's a digital illustrator and author, and folks were able to ask her questions and just to talk with her. So that was really great work that they continue to do. And we continue to work. Last time we met, we talked about a model digital citizenship curriculum. And we also just launched an innovative artificial AI education pilot. And I don't know if Irene is in the room to just quickly talk a little bit about what we're doing there so you're aware.
Commissioner, morning board members. So yes, we launched an AI pilot, and the digital citizenship model curriculum, it has been a cornerstone of that work. So we have 6 districts of different locales that are participating: East Hartford, Lebanon, Rocky Hill, Seymour, Westport, and Odyssey Community School, Manchester. And we are well underway. They've already participated in professional learning related to digital citizenship. Next week, we'll be engaging in AI literacy professional learning with the group. There's over 50 educators involved. That includes their administrators and their teachers that are actually implementing the AI enhanced tool in the classroom, so they're learning shoulder to shoulder. We had metrics identified because we really want to see that the students are developing their critical thinking, communication, and their collaboration skills. So you're not really going to be able to test that with a test and understand, but we can see the progression of advancing the development of these schools. So again, we're well underway. We'll find an opportunity where maybe you can come and see this in action. They've chosen their tool and they are beginning to.
Thank you. And we have a Grant AI event that will be coming up in April.
Yes, so the commissioner is committed to ensuring that we learn more about AI and AI integration. So planning a day of AI for the superintendent and one or more of their central office folks to really engage, listen from folks in the pilot, but also in partnership with the day of AI.
Which is out of MIT, so should be really interesting. Thank you very much. I also wanted to share with you that I was on WICC's Melissa in the morning to specifically talk about Bridgeport. And so the community is really engaged in wanting to learn more and to clarify for them what the board's decision to intervene to what is looking like on the ground. So we did that as well. I will end it there. I know that you've got some pictures of shout outs also always in your deck to talk. We had the information on go to the Pitt governor inauguration happened again. We have a new Pitt governor, Kiyudi Martinez, and his entire cabinet. We celebrated that and we'll find an opportunity for him to come in and talk about school safety and eliminating bullying is a platform that they're on. So that is great event that happened, and you'll get a chance to meet the new governor and the cabinet. And I think that is it. Last time, and you can take a look at the pictures as you go through. But thank you very much for the report. I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. A lot of phenomenal work, and I like that cabinet. The question is regarding federal funding. What are you doing in terms of assessing the risk of losing funds or potentially not getting funds or losing funds? Are you looking at every grant that's coming in and risk assessment that could potentially impact school districts and other schools here in the county?
So great question. We've gathered all of that information in one place, and not just our agency, but other agencies as well. Sharing that with the governor's office as we continue to have this conversation. The major grants, specifically large grants like IDEA for students with disabilities, title grants. We're taking a look at all of that. And also people don't always think about the Department of Agriculture as well, because that's where our well over $200 million worth of funds come in for school meals programs. So we're just paying really close attention to all of that. Again, there's a lot of information out there. You know, the new Secretary of Education, I listened to her and she said that they're not looking to cut any of those funds. But again, we don't know. So we're really just preparing as best we can for all of that. But a lot of the conversation with the Office of the Governor, looking at what does that look like from a fiscal perspective.
Just following up on Dr. Salazar, Office of the Governor is obviously an important actor here, but so too, I would imagine, is the legislature in the event that we have to respond. I imagine those conversations.
That's right. Those are all the conversations that are occurring. We just try to make sure that there's a streamlined way of that occurring.
Yeah, because we might need to make some adjustments. Yeah.
Questions?
Thank you.
With your permission, board members, I would like to move item 9. Next, that we're going to deal with the consent agenda to help with the time schedules of some of the presenters out there. They have to present. So, it's okay with that. All right, item 9 is a consent agenda. There are 3 items under there. Is there feeling that they want to remove any one of the 3 of the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moved in second. Any questions? Concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Back on schedule. We're going to item 7. There are action items. The approval of the Commissioners Network extension for Hamden Middle School. Hamden. And Jennifer. Can I get a motion to report come to
Move.
Second.
Dr. Jenkins, you got the floor.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. In your board packet for your consideration is the executive summary outlining Hamden Middle School request for an extension in the Commissioners Network. With me today at the table from the Connecticut State Department of Education, Jennifer Webb, the Bureau Chief for the Turnaround Office, Aaron Davis, Assistant Superintendent of Hamden Public Schools,
and Michelle Cooligan, principal of Hamden Middle School. Public Act 12-116, now codified, section 10-223H of the Connecticut General Statutes, established the Commissioners Network to provide resources, increase the flexibilities and greater accountability to improve student achievement and some of the state's lowest performing schools. The Commissioners Network is a commitment between local stakeholders and the Connecticut State Department of Education to improve student achievement in up to 25 schools. There are 18 schools presently participating in the Commissioners Network. The purpose of the Commissioners Network is to turn around chronically low-performing schools and improve outcomes for students who attend these schools. For the past 3 years, the leadership at Hamden Middle School and the district have partnered with the CSD to improve student achievement. Schools are accepted in the Commissioners Network for a minimum of 3 years, which provides that the State Board of Education may allow schools to continue in the Commissioners Network for up to 2 additional years if necessary. For the reasons set forth, Hamden Middle School is recommended to remain in the Commissioners Network for the 4th year. At this time, Jennifer Webb will provide an overview of improvements, continued areas of focus, and next steps if an extension is approved.
Good morning, everyone, members of the State Board of Education, Commissioner Russell Tucker, and all of our distinguished guests that we have here with us. It's an honor to be here today to introduce Hamden Middle School. It's been a proud member of the Commissioners Network since 2022. Hamden Middle School serves a diverse population of 845 students in grades 7 and 8. Over the past 3 years, the school's made significant strides in strengthening instructional practices, improving student outcomes, and fostering a positive school culture. Through collaborative leadership, the implementation of professional learning communities, and a focus on continuous improvement, Hamden Middle School is creating a dynamic and engaging learning environment. One of the most notable achievements has been the improvement in student performance. The school's Next Generation Accountability Index has increased 4.7 percentage points since joining the network. Chronic absenteeism has declined by 10%, and targeted professional development has enhanced instructional rigor and student engagement. Additionally, the implementation of positive behavioral interventions and supports and Dragon Pride Days has further reinforced a strong, supportive school climate. We recently saw this in action as Hamden Middle School recently hosted 8 of our middle schools for a NetStack professional learning session. Equally important has been the strengthened connection between families and the community. Through expanded communication efforts, parent engagement initiatives, and student-centered supports, Hamden Middle School continues to build an inclusive and equitable learning space where all students can thrive. While significant progress has been made, the work does continue. Strengthening Tier 1 instruction, expanding academic interventions, and supporting both new and experienced teachers remain key priorities. With the continued support of the Commissioners Network and this board, Hamden Middle School is well positioned to sustain its momentum and achieve even greater success. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Erin Bailey, Assistant Superintendent, who will share a few words about the next steps for Hamden Middle School.
Hey, everyone. Superintendent Highsmith and I are deeply grateful for the opportunity to have Hamden Middle School participate in the network. Over the past 3 years, our school team has faithfully implemented the school improvement plan, focusing on building a professional learning community, strengthening Tier 1 instruction, expanding intervention opportunities, and fostering a positive school culture and climate. Collaboration has been at the heart of this work. The middle school team works closely with district leadership, including our team of directors, to ensure these improvements extend beyond our school. For example, the use of learning targets, an essential component of our school improvement efforts, has now been embraced across all 8 elementary schools and our high school. At this time, we are seeking your approval for Hamden Middle School to remain in the Commissioners Network for an additional year. In our Year 4 plan, we will continue to strengthen teacher efficacy, recognizing its profound impact on student achievement. We are committed to fostering enthusiasm for teaching, and our educators have demonstrated remarkable dedication and persistence. This work will continue through daily PLC meetings and both school and district professional development opportunities. As our faculty continue to grow, we remain dedicated to strengthening the onboarding process for new colleagues and developing our collective expertise. We're also focused on expanding leadership opportunities within our school by engaging faculty in classroom walkthroughs, both within our school and across the district, and collaborating with other Commissioners Network principals on school visits. We aim to empower our team to uphold the highest levels of professional practice and continuous learning. Our commitment to strong, coherent Tier 1 instruction remains steadfast. We are actively working to enhance student engagement through clear learning outcomes, rigorous task design, and actionable feedback. Additionally, we continue to use achievement data to inform small group interventions. While we are proud of the progress reflected in the Next Generation Accountability Index, we know our students are capable of even more and are determined to help them reach their goals. School culture and climate will remain a priority as we advance our improvement efforts. We will continue implementing PBIS and restorative practices to promote positive behavior. The significant gains in our school climate survey data are encouraging, and we remain committed to reducing chronic absenteeism and exclusionary discipline. Looking ahead, we will support the middle school's initiative to explore alternative scheduling to increase instructional time for literacy and math, ensuring every student receives the time and support they need to thrive. Thank you for your continued support as we build on the progress we've made and strive for even greater success.
I need to say that it's still morning before I say good morning. Thank you for being here. I know you were supposed to come before accountability last month, and that didn't work out because of the weather. I have two questions under two separate buckets. First, in regards to your student achievement, I particularly wanted to commend you for your science achievement. It's very commendable that your school is either consistently at or above where your district is. I think that's wonderful. And I'm wondering if you could comment on anything in particular or unique that you may be doing in your school that might have led to those results.
Sure. I think a lot of the work that we've done around ensuring that our curriculum is more integrated at the elementary level, so that we're making sure that kids not only have the opportunity to have hands-on science time, but they're also strengthening their reading skills has really helped our kids to be able to think more. I think that as soon as they get to the middle school level, and Michelle can certainly speak to this more, the experiences that they're having are much more hands-on, and they're really engaging and inquiry-based, and that really helps to keep kids invested in what they're learning.
Thanks. And then the other bucket for my question is in regards to the suspension rates that were referenced. You experienced a significant growth in the suspensions for last school year. I'm wondering if you have data you could give us an update on how those numbers look for the current school year, and then specifically, what have you done differently in the school year, and what do you want to be doing differently next school year to bring that number back down?
Thank you. And my name is Michelle Coogan. I serve as the principal, and I'm happy that you asked the question about our culture and climate, especially about our discipline rates. Recently, we did host a NetStat meeting, and our superintendent welcomed our guests, and he started off by saying that the school community has transformed over the past 3 years and feels radically different. And some of that is echoed in our school climate data that we survey regularly our students and our faculty and staff, as well as our families. And we are seeing gains in those school climate surveys where students are saying they feel safe. We understand the predictable expectations for students and for adults. So we're seeing gains in our culture and climate. One of the things we noticed is that as a community, we also are level setting consistently. How are we responding to behaviors in a way that supports students in their learning? So you asked, how are we moving forward? One of the things that we've done with our school climate staff is in lieu of a suspension, which excludes students from the classroom, we are doing what we were referring to as reverse ISS, but essentially means that a trusted adult is with the student in the classroom, modeling expectations, providing the support and coaching throughout the day, and it's getting wonderful results and feedback from our teachers, as well as the students who are participating. So that's been something we've implemented this year, in addition to other programs that we can provide students with the reteaching and the support so that they can be successful. We believe, based on data today in March, that our disciplinary data will go down dramatically in next year when you look at our results. But we also just continue to focus on making sure all students know the expectations and supporting them through consistent teaching model, reinforcing, and we're seeing the results of that work.
And that reverse ISS is very intriguing. Thank you for sharing that.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Thank you.
It is so moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, approval of Commissioners Network extension for McDonough Middle School in Hartford. I get a motion, please.
Second.
You again. Your board packet for your consideration is the executive summary outlining the McDonough Middle School Hartford's request for an extension in the Commissioners Network. I'm with me today, of course, Jennifer Webb, DOG, with Dr. Condra Bradley, Deputy Superintendent, and Marjorie Rice, Principals at McDonough Middle School. As previously mentioned, the Connecticut General Statutes establishes the Commissioners Network to provide resources and create flexibility and greater accountability to improve student achievement. For the past 3 years, the leadership at McDonough Middle School and at the district level have partnered with us to improve student achievement. Schools that are accepted in the network are accepted for a minimum of 3 years, provided that the State Board of Education may allow schools to continue in the Commissioners Network for up to an additional 2 years. For the reasons set forth, McDonough Middle School in Hartford is being recommended for an extension in the Commissioners Network for 4 years. At this time, Jennifer Webb will provide an overview of improvements, continued areas for focus, and next steps if an extension is approved.
So I'm excited to introduce McDonough Middle School and to share their progress and the impact of their participation of being a part of the Commissioners Network. McDonough serves 333 students in grades 6 through 8 with a student population that is 80% Hispanic Latino and 52% multilingual learners. Over the past 3 years, McDonough Middle School has implemented transformative strategies through the McDonough Method instructional framework, emphasizes high expectations, differentiation, and student-centered learning. Their commitment to improving student outcomes has led to measurable growth. We've seen increased academic performance with ELA and math performance indices improving year over year, a 19.2% decrease in chronic absenteeism thanks to the Twilight Team's targeted home visits and mentoring system, improved teacher retention, where they achieved a 100% classroom teacher retention this year after reducing turnover, strategic hiring and support, and enhanced student engagement with initiatives like the Power Hour program and Virtual Academy, which supports personalized learning. As they move forward for an extension for year 4 of the network, the focus remains on strengthening attendance structures, deepening Tier 1 instructional supports, and expanding co-teaching models to better serve all students. With the support of Hartford Public Schools and the Connecticut State Department of Education, McDonough Middle School is on a path to sustained success. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Bradley.
Good morning. We submit this request for extension of CN funding to support the work for increased student achievement at McDonough Middle School. We do so fully understanding the importance of engaging the State Turnaround Office, district staff, school leaders, teachers, parents, students, and members of the broader CN network. My own experience as a comprehensive high school turnaround principal and principal supervisor for turnaround schools afforded me the opportunity to understand the importance of, one, prioritizing the work, and secondly, creating the internal conditions for this work to happen. Earlier today in a quite extensive report, you heard about some of the shifts being made already. Those shifts happen in tandem with the school side of the house in order to create the conditions for this type of work to happen. A couple of items that we've done on the ground, just starting this year in terms of academic focus and processes, include organizing the schools into networks so that they serve a single principal supervisor, such as Ms. Rice is in a network where our other commissioners network school is housed. That way, there's one principal supervisor who serves as that point person or gateway to district office to help remove barriers, figure out what they need, and so forth. Secondly, as a district, we've reduced the number of and aligned our instructional monitoring tools, going from 20 plus to 3, so that the focus can be intentional on exactly what effective instructional practices are in place for our instructional teams. In addition, we've established monitoring cadences to go into classrooms, monitor this work, engage with teachers and school teams, that happening across schools, among schools, and with district staff. We've also established monitoring cadences for student performance. So it's not just enough to do the work, but also to see what are the outcomes of the work. And as a result, we've reviewed screener data, formative assessments, and interim assessments on a cadence to ensure that what we want to be our outcomes are actually moving in that way, as opposed to waiting until the end to see what the score is. We've also established collaborative meeting structures. Again, earlier today, you heard about silos, breaking down silos. I'm happy to say that's not just happening within certain departments, it's also happening interdepartmentally and with the efforts of including our schools in that work so that as we design our work, it is in that way to create the conditions for our schools to excel. As far as McDonough specifically, we'll continue to support the site-based priorities and practices that have been put in place that Ms. Webb has already mentioned, as well as making sure that we provide oversight and support with fiscal stewardship, not just with spend down, but assuring that the goals are aligned to spending through that school improvement planning process. And again, we're measuring those outcomes along the way. Finally, we'll remain active participants in the CN network if afforded the opportunity, because we know the importance of not just doing the work within the walls of our own buildings or our own district, but engaging with others across the state in order to learn best practices and begin to share best practices. Thank you.
No questions from the board, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Aye. Aye.
I'm sorry. Approval of Commissioners Network extension for Benny Dozier-Jackson Middle School in New London. I get a motion.
Second.
We move to second.
This afternoon. In your board packet for your consideration is the executive summary outlining Betty Dozier-Jackson Middle School in New London's request for an extension in the Commissioners Network. The purpose of the Commissioners Network is to turn around chronically low-performing schools and improve outcomes for students who attend these schools. For the past 4 years, the leadership at Benny Dozier-Jackson Middle School and the district leadership have partnered with us to improve student treatment. Schools accepted into the Commissioners Network are accepted for a minimum of 3 years. At this time, Benny Dozier-Jackson has been in the Commissioners Network for 4 years, and they are requesting a fifth and final year. At this time, Jennifer Webb will provide an overview of their improvements, continued areas of focus, and next steps if an extension is approved. So it's an honor to introduce you to Dozier-Jackson Middle School, a school that's committed to continuous growth and innovation. Since entering the Commissioners Network in fall 2021, Dozier-Jackson has embarked on a transformational journey, one that has strengthened their instructional practices, improved school culture, and expanded student supports. This middle school serves a diverse population of 343 students in grades 5 through 8, with 94% qualifying for free or reduced price meal, and nearly half are identified as multilingual learners. Over the past 4 years, they've made measurable gains in key areas. Academic growth in ELA increased by 4.7 percentage points in the last year alone. Chronic absenteeism has dropped by 19 percentage points since entering the network. Teacher retention has improved significantly, reducing turnover from 55% in 2021 to 20% today. And suspensions have decreased from 85 instances in the 2021-22 school year to just 15 last year. This progress is the result of intentional research-based strategies in which they're strengthening Tier 1 instruction, embedding co-teaching models, implementing building thinking classrooms, and increasing professional learning opportunities that are focused on questioning strategies, differentiation, and discourse. Additionally, there's strategic staffing, such as interventionists, hybrid substitutes, and attendance motivators, has provided much needed support for both students and teachers. As they seek to move into year 5 of the network, Dozier-Jackson Middle School remains committed to reducing chronic absenteeism, expanding their equitable instructional practices, and fostering a positive school culture where every student has the opportunity to succeed. With a focus on collaborative planning, structured supports for multilingual learners, and teacher leadership development, they're ensuring sustainable growth beyond their time in the network. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hills-Papetti.
I think it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I think I get the official afternoon. Thank you so much for having us here today. Superintendent Ritchie and I cannot extend our gratefulness for being able to be in the network for the past 4 years. And if I had to sum up both what we were looking forward to if we were granted in year 5, and also what we've had for the past 4 years, is definitely the word transformational. The transformation that has happened at Dozier-Jackson Middle School is amazing. And it has been with the great support from the State Department and also with the consistency of our phenomenal leaders and our teachers, the consistency of the reduction in turnover of staff has provided an amazing place for our students to learn and grow. If we are granted a 5th year, we would love to see our chronic absenteeism continue to decrease. And we are definitely looking for our student achievement to continue to grow. The consistency and the support of the professional learning has gotten phenomenal and just more structured and more focused. We conduct surveys from teachers and we ask them, what do you want? What do you feel you need to do better? And we have developed a system of choice PD that occurs once a month. So teachers are actually wanting to come to PD. They are wanting to come to school and they feel absolutely supported. Because beyond that professional development that is targeted and structured specifically to teachers' needs, Dozier has also implemented instructional rounds. Mr. Van Vikides, the principal, has not only done the instructional rounds with the other leaders in the school, but every classroom teacher has also conducted and participated in those instructional rounds this year. And it has been an amazing achievement. And the discourse and the professional discourse and the consistency across classrooms is huge now. It does not matter where students go. They know what the expectations are. They are excited to learn and the teachers are excited. So if we are granted a 5th year, we will continue this great work. And I know that you will continue to see our scores grow, our chronic absenteeism reduce, and our suspension numbers continue to go down. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on the motion?
Good afternoon. Could you talk to me real briefly about what a hybrid substitute is and how you utilize that and whether or not it's a certified position?
Yes, so it is not a certified position. It is actually, we have 4 hybrid subs currently at Dozier, and what that allows us to do is kind of what we just talked about, which is allows our teachers to go out on instructional rounds with a staff member who the kids know.
in the school. They're in the school every day. So it's not like getting a random person in that they do not know. These adults come to our professional development sessions. They participate with us. They are members of our staff. So basically they know our expectations, all our behavioral expectations. Sometimes when you have substitutes in the building that the students are unfamiliar with, you may not get the same quality of instruction. So by having hybrid subs within the building, it is a staff member. So students know that they know the rules, they know what is expected, and it gives our staff the ability to go out and without loss of instructional time, participate in things like instructional rounds or additional professional development.
So what I think I hear you saying is that it's a different model than what I would refer to in my building as a building substitute. Who
Yes.
is
Yes.
what you described as a person who is constantly there and substituting, but they're also engaged in
Our professional development. Go through all of our professional development. They are part of our handbook, they're part of our staff, so they even come to our staff event.
Thanks for sharing.
Other questions? All those in favor of accepting the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? It is so. Thank you. Approval of Commissioners Network extension for New London High School, New London, Connecticut. Get a motion.
All right, I didn't see your hand.
Alan made the motion. That did the second. Listen, you.
Board packet for your consideration. Executive summary outlining New London High School's request for an extension in the Commissioners Network. With me at the table is, of course, our lovely Jennifer Webb, Bureau Chief in the Turnaround Office, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Jennifer Dozier-Jackson, and Brian Mayman, Principal at New London High School. The purpose of the Commissioners Network is to turn around chronically low performing schools and improve outcomes for students in academic schools. For the past 4 years, the leadership at New London High School and the leadership at the district have partnered with us to improve student achievement. At this time, New London High School is being recommended to remain in the Commissioners Network for its 5th and final year. Jennifer Webb will provide an overview of the improvements, continued areas of focus, and next steps if an extension is approved.
So it's a privilege to introduce New London High School. Since joining the network in fall 2021, New London High School has transformed their learning environment, strengthened instructional practices, and cultivated a culture of belonging through targeted initiatives and strategic leadership. Serving 605 students in grades 9 through 12, New London High is a diverse and vibrant community, with 91% of students qualifying for free or reduced price meals, and 46% are identified as multilingual learners. Over the past 4 years, they've seen measurable and impactful improvements in, such as their chronic absenteeism has dropped by 16.7 percentage points in just 1 year. The on track to high school graduation rate increased by 3.7 percentage points. Post-secondary readiness among 11th and 12th graders rose by 5 percentage points. Suspensions decreased thanks to restorative practices and PBIS interventions. And student participation in dual enrollment programs has doubled, offering more pathways to college and career readiness. These gains have been driven by high-quality instructional strategies, including illustrative mathematics, building thinking classrooms, and lesson study cycles, along with a strong focus on student discourse, co-teaching models, and equitable learning environments. As they enter year 5 of the Commissioners Network, their commitment remains strong. They plan to continue reducing chronic absenteeism through LEAP, expanding career and leadership pathways with Electric Boat, UConn Upward Bound, and Connecticut College, enhancing instruction and professional learning to support diverse learners, and strengthening school culture with mentorship, restorative practices, and Whaler Pride activities.
London High believes that every student deserves the opportunity to succeed. With continued focus and strategic support, we are confident in their ability to sustain and accelerate progress. I'm going to turn it over again to Dr. Hills-Pathetti.
Hello again. Good afternoon again. And we are in a wonderfully unique situation. And I know that other districts are also like us, but the partnership and the unity across our schools has been amazing. Mr. Benvikitis and Mr. Mahan collaborate on a regular basis. We have seen increase in our student scores coming from 8th grade to 9th grade within our internal tests, almost triple within the last 2 years. And we truly believe this is because of that partnership. If we were granted a 5th year, we are hoping to continue to see those academics strengthen. And as our 9th and 10th graders that we have our internal measures for, to take the SAT next year and currently are taking the SAT this year, we are hoping to see those numbers also reflected on those national scores. We have had an amazing focus again on seeing individualized PD model. We have begun instructional rounds at the high school as well. You will see a lot of consistencies and also a transformation in culture. Kids want to come to school, they want to be there. And a little bit different from the high school, we hope to continue to build what Ms. Webb was talking about with the pathways. Students are coming because we've been able to increase the things that they want to see and the things that they want to do, whether it was adding a CNA program, whether it was being a part of Upward Bound with our partnership with UConn, or whether it was we are kind of in a little bit of a competition right now because we have the second highest number of students signing on for only second to, but we are highest for a comprehensive high school. We're only second to some of the K schools. So we have been really working hard to make sure that every student knows that Mr. Mahan has led that charge with his administrative teachers to make sure that every student gets exactly what they need both academically and we hope to be able to continue this partnership.
Questions?
Good afternoon. In preparation for your visit that was supposed to happen for accountability and the fast facts paperwork that we received, there was reference for next steps about a need to protect PLC time at the high school. Could you just briefly talk about what had occurred and what you're trying to mitigate?
Yes. So prior to this year, or actually prior to 2 years ago, our staff did not have common planning time as far as content area. So what we did was we completely restructured the schedule. One, we moved to block scheduling to give students more consistent time within classrooms. And two, when we organized the schedule, we made sure that all our science teachers had the same period off so that they could meet and discuss data. Then our social studies, our ELA, our math. In addition, this year, something that we did add was also department heads. So we not only have administrators that are working with our students or with our staff, but also department heads across every content area. And that has been amazing. They are calibrated by our administrators to how to discuss data, how to look at data, and then how to action on data. And they are also participating in instructional rounds and creating that initiative within the departments. And they are branching out and going to other departments. So we are really starting to see through the preservation of that time for those rounds to be able to happen. So you will see consistency in learning targets, success criteria, classroom expectations across all content areas, so that no matter if the students are in ELA class or whether they are in science class, they are seeing. Thank you.
Questions? Those in favor of approving the London High School, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? It is so moved. Thank you very much.
But we're fine. Bonnie's not in the room, so it's 6 instead of 7.
Okay, the approval of the Commissioner Network extension for Wilby High School. A motion, please.
Second.
Next time. Live in house.
Last but not least, for your consideration, Wilby High School, Waterbury has presented a request for an extension in the community network. With me today at the table is Jennifer Webb, as Bureau Chief for the turnaround office, Dr. Karen Sports, interim superintendent for Waterbury Public Schools, and Dr. Michelle Baker, principal at Wilby High School. At this time, Jennifer will provide an overview of improvements, continued areas for support, and next steps with the extension improvement.
I'm pleased to introduce Wilby High School, a Commissioners Network school since 2021. Wilby has made significant strides in strengthening their instructional practices, student engagement, and school culture. Wilby serves a diverse student body of 1,178 students in grades 9 through 12, with 86% eligible for free or reduced price meals, 26% receiving special education services, and 17% are identified as multilingual learners. Over the past 4 years, they've embraced transformative strategies to improve student outcomes, including universal instructional coaching cycles and teacher-led learning walks to build a collaborative culture of learning, strengthening their professional learning communities and instructional data teams to enhance differentiation and rigor in lesson planning, expanding college and career readiness programs, including field experiences for ninth graders, new career technical education offerings, and the growth of their Adams Honors Program, robotics, and the electric car team. And also enhancing multi-tiered systems of support with restorative practices, attendance counselors, and behavioral data tracking to proactively address student needs. These efforts have yielded measurable successes, including a 2.4 percentage point increase in their next generation accountability index score, a 9.5 percentage point rise in post-secondary entrance rates, a nearly 30 percentage point decline in chronic absenteeism since 2021, and the development of a student success model in ninth grade, where they can foster early intervention and a stronger sense of community for their incoming students. As they seek to enter year 5 of the network, Wilby remains focused on staff recruitment and retention, strengthening academic rigor, and expanding student support services to ensure that all students thrive. Wilby is more than a school, it's a community that's committed to excellence. We're proud of their progress and excited to build on these achievements through our continued partnership. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Darren Schwartz.
Good afternoon. I just want to thank you all for investing in Wilby staff and students for the last 4 years. As I mentioned earlier, I've been in Waterbury for more than 12 years, and the Wilby of today is not the Wilby I walked into when I transitioned from Hartford Public Schools to Waterbury Public Schools. I first walked into Wilby. The culture and climate of that building is phenomenal. It is often noted that people walk through the building. I actually recently gave a tour of some of the pastors who wanted to see. They haven't been in our field in years. I said, "Come check out Wilby." They looked at me like, "Why Wilby?" They thought I was going to take the, a magnet school or something. "No, I want you to see Wilby." And they walked out saying, "We would have never known that this school was so transformed." I've been finding that the interactions of students and staff in the hallways. And so the climate, the culture of the building has really changed, and that is in large part to not only Dr. Baker's leadership at the school, but also the strong collaboration we've had with the turnaround office. I want to thank Dr. Jenkins and Greg and Jen. It is one of the strongest relationships we have with the State Department from the district, and we really couldn't do work without them. And so I just want to publicly thank them for that work. And we're really excited that last year we did have 1 year count exiting turnaround. And so this year we're working on getting that second year, so we'll be officially off the turnaround list. And really if offered this fifth year, we're really looking forward to taking those IVTs and strengthening them. It's not just about having the time to decide, but now it's about really owning it and having the data and doing something about it and actually changing your practices for the benefit of the students. It's our student academics and our suspensions rates are really that we're looking at specifically. And so using those TLCs to talk about high quality instruction, we have an instructional framework for establishing the district. Will come into play during those VLCs, but then also using the data classroom, but then actually adjusting your instruction to
to this something we're looking to continue strengthening our restorative practices, specifically around theater interventions for students so that maybe their suspension rate down, which this year is trending that way already. So that's a good thing. Just for that question, so I'll just say that. But also, you know, as I mentioned earlier, some of the things that you said, you know, robotics and all these other events, I know that it's not as easy as academics, instructions, and product ideas, but you know, if you're for that Saturday, you want to come to the robotics, knowing the competition is at Wilby High School on Saturday. We'll be there at 10:30. If you see that Wilby team interact, you see the students they're out that matters. That robotics team did not exist prior to this. So I point that out as one of many things. You know, the culinary, the third restaurant, that matters. You know, very good. And in fact, I think they delivered over 20 City Hall last Friday because it started at 5 and then it went to 6 and then went to 12. Now over 20 staff members in the mayor's office are ordering from a Wilby restaurant on Fridays. And so it's that type of data that you won't see that's well, like some of those smaller pieces that matter to the city and to public schools out there for the conflict. Thank you. Questions?
All those in favor of the approval of network extension for Wilby High School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Abstentions. It is so ordered. Thank you.
Mr. Harris, before Wilby leaves the table, I do want to make a comment about my visit to Wilby, and I agree with you 100%. It was over a year ago, but I remember going to Wilby and saying to Jen on our way out, this is a school that has turned around greatly. So I agree with you 100% and look forward to visiting again.
Part of that team, I echo those comments. Yeah.
May I, Mr. Chair? I also, and so thank you to you, Darren, and the work that you're doing in Waterbury. But for all of this, I really want to thank the department for the work that they do. The purpose of this is to turn around some of our lowest performing schools. And so I ask the question, so what? And so it's important for us. And as you're doing this and improving year after year, we're talking about outcomes. And as Dr. Salazar asked earlier, how can we take what we're learning here to make sure that we are also assisting our other schools and districts as well? So I do appreciate that. And Darren, you know, you talk about chronic absence, but when students are connected to what's happening in that community, they come to school. And so I don't think of it as smaller, but really integral part of the work that we're doing. We want to be there every day. For the competition or for the restaurant, but getting them in that space really matters. So appreciate the extra work that you're doing in that regard. So, thank you.
MF, the approval of reauthorization of emergency education certification endorsements for 2025-26. Deputy Commissioner Moyan. As a reminder, you will receive in your email on Friday.
What we're presenting today is rationale for the recommendation to re-adopt the emergency educator certification endorsement as the temporary authorization for the 25-26 academic school year in an effort to provide additional flexibility to school districts and our local LEAs. To meet unique staffing challenges that present themselves in the shortage that we have, and also to be able to fill some of those much needed specialized students. I'm just going to pass the turn to the verification consultant to give you a little bit more information. Good afternoon, State Board of Education, Rosa Tucker. Thank you so much for having the opportunity today. I'm Caitlin Ricciardi, and I work in the town office at the Today, the Bureau of Certification within the town office is requesting your approval for the reauthorization of the emergency endorsement for the 25-26 school year. Since 2021, the board has been gracious enough to approve these for our districts, and the CSDE has been issuing them to support public school districts. These authorizations have been specifically critical for our, especially our comprehensive high schools, filling those 0.2 and 0.4 positions, which oftentimes would go left unfilled. So with the requirements that the educator must hold a provisional or a professional educator certificate, so we know that they're definitely more experienced. We heard loud and clear from the first year from around the field, please hold off with the initials because they're still working on team, and that was such great feedback. So we definitely made that adjustment. But we have found that it's been very effective that our districts actually started reaching out in January of this year and said, please tell me we're going to continue the, it's more specifically been really helping filling those 0.2 science or those 0.2 math positions specifically. And we've also noticed an influx of some of our educators permanently seeking that endorsement to add to their certification as well. We know that, there's some changes going on with certain regulations, and this may be something that we discussed with that board moving forward and maybe set conditions for it. So it's not a permanent solution, but maybe a pathway for some of our educators to seek other authorizations. But for the time being, until that board is able to actually take a look at our certification regs, we're asking you to honor this for another year. And hopefully within the next year, we can have a greater detailed conversation with that board. Since 2021, just to let you know, there's been over 747 of these authorizations issued in partnership with the teacher. So the teacher is eager for this. And we've had over 601 individual teachers have filled separate positions since 2021. So it has helped our districts with our teacher shortage.
Before I entertain questions, I do need to put a motion on the floor. Too quick for me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I have a motion?
No move.
Properly moved and second. Now I'll entertain.
Is that something is that if approved, this then will go in front, the next piece that happens is it goes in front of that certification board where I serve as the representative for the State Department of Education. And so they will also be clear of this. And this is how, as a board, we're really going to be informed as to some of those moves we need to make. So we're not always coming in front of the board every year to ask for this, but it will be considered as part of a multi-step approach that we need to consider.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. It is so moved. Item number 8, financial matters.
For you on the government budget. The budget is in your supplemental packet.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioner. We're just to touch base on the governor's proposed budget as it is right now. I just want to emphasize again, the last time we had a financial matter was when the department presented its budget. So that was step 1. This is sort of step 2, and far from a done deal as far as budgets go. There's a long way to go, and I'm sure you've seen what's going on over at the legislature already. It's did a $40 million back and forth on excess funds. So that is one item that the governor has been generous enough to include in the budget proposal for 2027.
We want to spend a little time focusing on the items that we have put forward to you for a vote that has made it into the budget because we feel like that's important. So some of those things are the support public therapy magnet, preschool and cold tester, and expand enrollment to eCamp to maintain check compliance, along with increasing funding for excess costs, education grant that I just mentioned. There are also initiatives related to establishing high-quality special education incentives, the continuing funding for the learning engagement and attendance program, establishing dual credit expansion grant program, continuing funding for the science of reading masterclass, establishing high-dosage tutoring matching grant, and providing funding for a competitive grant program to assist districts in addressing physical technology uses. There's a lot more to the budget. Oops, sorry. There's a lot more in the budget, but that's a high level piece that came before you that they have added to this budget for us.
Questions?
I'll just add a comment, not a question, but wanted you to see the progression. Because as long as I've been here, I don't recall such a nice association between what this board put in an expansion request and actually what ends up in the budget. And so I'm really pleased that I think this board can see this. I often use you as I'm out there talking about the fact that there was a need established. This board said we'd like to see this in the budget, and it is actually in the budget. And though it is far from being over, as mentioned, the issues that we're attacking, for example, special education, was the discussions that we had here and the recommendations made. So I am pleased that the governor's office, OPM, honored the requests that this board made for those items, which are really so important for our districts.
None of these are contingent on federal dollars, right?
And this is also strictly the state budget. So state budget items.
Just to clarify.
Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving to item 10, our committee report. Academic standard and assessment. Got that one.
Yes, I do. The academic standards will meet on May 20th. I'll move on to accountability and support. Like Ms. Record had said, all those schools you saw come before us, we usually take that deep dive in accountability, but that was that was canceled because of the weather. So our next meeting is April 23rd. And Don, it's you, finance.
Finance audit and budget met last week, February 25th. Basically, I came out of that meeting giving praise to the staff for all of the work that is been heaped upon them. They are mired in doing a lot of forensic audits, and they're doing the best they can with what they got, and nothing but praise goes to that group. Our meeting will be, we're on a quarterly basis, so our next meeting will be in.
And we're hiring for that office.
Thank you. Yes. Legislation and policy development.
We did not have a core meeting this month, but I understand that in April, there will be some agenda items that need to be added. So to those on the committee, please plan on staying after.
CTEC board chair, Dr. Benz, was not able to attend today, but just a reminder that there is a CTEC report in your supplemental folder. SB.
And I reported earlier about the member exchange. I will keep you updated on what they plan to do for their April meeting, as far as if they're going to continue with the breakout sessions, but I will follow up with all board members on that. And then for CERC, again, your written report is in your folders from CERC. We did have a board meeting recently, and of course, one of the major concerns that we talked about is the federal funding. We were thrilled to hear that Dr. Kennedy is part of that Bridgeport team and has already started that work. So that is great, and it's a reminder of how important CERC is to this board and as a partner of this board. So again, your report is in your supplemental folder. Thank you. Oh, and just a reminder, you will be getting a invite to that. They have set their date, and I think I brought this up before on their dismantling systematic racism will take place in May, and you will be receiving that invite to attend that great conference. That concludes my report.
Okay. Last item. So I'm going to put the pressure on Dr. Hughes.
Then there was
11B, implementation of State Board of Education Comprehensive Plan, strategic priorities.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Thank you, Commissioner, Board of Education. Good afternoon, State Board of Ed members. It's an honor to report on the progress of the State Department of Ed's filling of the strategic priorities outlined in the State Board of Education plan. The development of this plan began more than 2 years ago, as many of you well know, and the final product, entitled 5-Year Comprehensive Plan for Education 23-25, was approved by this board in November 2023. The plan includes 4 strategic priorities that are outlined on page 1, the executive summary included in your packet. Work is currently underway for all of the 4 strategic priorities. However, today's update is focused on the significant progress the department has made since the start of the school year. On the 1 strategic priority, all learners are supported, including those with high needs, and have equitable access to education regardless of background or advantage, as well as access to great teachers and leaders and a diverse educational workforce. You'll notice that this strategic priority includes 2 sets of action. The first set of actions is focused on supporting districts to improve school climate and the use of alternatives to exclusionary discipline practices to afford equitable access to the classroom. We heard a number of incidences. I hope you're drawing connections between a lot of the presentations that were brought earlier today related to that set of actions. The second set of actions is focused on the recruitment and retention of a diverse educator workforce. Both of these high leverage actions are what the CSDE believes will drive measurable outcomes for this strategic priority. Since September, CSDE is focused on laying the groundwork for supporting districts improve school climate and use of alternatives to exclusionary discipline. Cornerstone of this work has been the development of guidance to districts and the legislative shifts impacting the implementation of school climate law. This guidance will assist districts prepare for the components of the law that are soon to take effect and answers pressing questions that have come from the field. Additionally, the CSDE has expanded professional learning opportunities to provide direct support to Commissioner Network and choice schools to strengthen their school climate practices. And again, some of you picked up on the reverse ISS as ways that we see this filtering in to the work that's occurring across the state. CSDE has also re-engaged its partners, such as the SEL Collaborative, and as Vice Chair had mentioned earlier, the School Discipline Collaborative that will meet in March. In an effort to closely review current discipline data, in an effort to be responsive to the needs of students. And very recently, so much so that it's not even listed yet on your table, published prior to or after the fact, CSDE has developed guidelines and professional standards for board certified behavioral analysts, BCBAs, which will assist districts maximize the use of these positions to support students across the spectrum of need. This is one part of the effort at reducing the disparities in discipline assigned to students with disabilities. The CSDE's work is not done, however. In the coming months, we plan to build upon this foundation to continue the professional learning opportunities and strengthen our partnerships to identify tools and resources aligned with the research so that we can assist schools to best meet the needs of their students. State. The second set of actions the CSD is taking in support of this strategic priority is to strengthen its already successful efforts at recruiting and retaining a diverse educator workforce. Since September, CSD has made significant gains in expanding some of the flagship programs aimed at creating a robust educator pipeline. This includes expanding the educator apprenticeship program to 7 districts, acquiring funds from the Buck Foundation to provide the mini grants to sustain the Ed Rising programs, doubling the number of aspiring educator diversity scholarship award recipients, and extending educator reciprocity to 22 states, Puerto Rico, and the District of Columbia. In addition, under the leadership of my colleague, DC Cynthia Sonia Moyano, the CSD has worked diligently to establish and facilitate meetings of the new Connecticut Educator Preparation Certification Board, established pursuant to Public Act 2441. This certification board will be responsible for developing standards and recommendations for educator preparation programs and work in concert with this board to balance high-quality educator preparation programs and certification requirements with the needs to meet educator shortages statewide. In the coming months, the CSDE will identify opportunities to support the success of this new board and continue to find opportunities to strengthen the programs that have proven effective at diversifying our educator workforce. CSD will also strengthen the pipeline by engaging our students in seeing education as a rewarding career pathway by expanding dual credit opportunities and empowering those Ed Rising student organizations that exist across our district. To conclude, a significant amount of high-quality work has occurred since September in order to support all learners, including those with high needs, to have equitable access to education regardless of background or advantage, as well as access to great teachers and leaders and a diverse educational workforce. I also look forward to providing future updates, celebrating the enormous amount of work this agency is doing in support of all strategic priorities. And at this point in time, if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to entertain.
Anything?
A couple here. I'm on page 3. Was struck by the absence of any target. Item 5. If an increase or increase by any amount is opposed to.
There is a need to establish that baseline. That's why you don't see a measurable outcome.
We don't know what will be
Starting towards data.
And just a note on page 7. And the completed actions form the establishments, right? Does that mean established? The completed actions, the CSDE form the establishment?
Yes. To put it simply, yes.
Kind of an awkward. Anyway, I just wanted to comment. That's struck by the progress with reciprocity and how many sections are now involved.
Yes, and it is a huge heavy lift that continues. And as I mentioned before, we've had great work happening in the expansion of educator diversity and access to other states, bringing in educators into the state. The by the numbers document has been available for this board that we can certainly share again. I'm speaking at a very high level here, but thank you for noting that progress. It has been a heavy lift.
Over 1,300 new educators in our state. I continue to share that. We have a new infographic, by the way, so I'll share it with you. And as of this morning, as you just shared numbers, when we talk about diversification. So back in 2015, 2016, it was 8.3% of our educators in our state were educators of color. That was 4,372. And this board at the time set a goal and a target for increasing those numbers. And so Fast forward to 2023, 2024, we went from 8.5%, 8.3% to 11.7%, which is 6,314. And as of this morning, we've broken the 12% mark. So we're now 12.1%, 6,506. And so just appreciate the efforts. And I can't say that without appreciating our districts, because they're the ones who actually, at the end of the day, we can always find the pump in the pipeline, but they hire. And so we really appreciate the efforts that's continued to be made and the heavy lift and hard work. And thank you all for your support and helping to get the word out, because I think that's important as well. So thank you.
For that. Any other comment? Any other comments? Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I'm keeping, it's the one thing you all heard about charter school this morning. And Attorney McCain will be sending you information on what you heard. Wanted you to know that.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.